If you need to go in reverse, count on him going forward.
Yes.
If you need to run, count on him crawling.
Yes, that's about right. I mean, it seems like every step of the way. Anytime you have anything that needs a decision or anything that is set, it's kind of backwards, and that's just kind of how MLB is operating right now.
And Brian, it's almost always a decision of why does the commissioner of baseball hate us and his sport so badly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's some of the decisions he makes, some of the things he says. I mean, not even just decisions. I mean, I remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, where he called the trophy just a piece of metal. I mean,
piece of metal.
Yeah, I mean,
just inanimate object.
It's crazy.
And the name of that trophy is the commissioner's trophy.
Correct. And so, but I doubt he knows that. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
he knows when the member guest at Seminole is.
Oh yeah,
that's all he cares about.
It really is. But no, I'm excited for the playoffs. Even though the Cardinals were never really had a chance to be in it,
no,
and then the Mariners.
I'm excited too.
Didn't get the job done over the weekend, but I'm excited to watch it nonetheless. I know we're gonna make some picks later in the show for these wild card matchups. So I'm ready for the action to get underway tomorrow.
Now, my picks are going to be, boy, what a joke, who I really think is going to win. But my heart's going to be, and right now I can tell every fan group out there, if you've never won one like Milwaukee, I want Milwaukee to win it all. They're probably first since they've been around longer. Tampa Bay's probably next.
Yeah.
Then if you've won it more recently than the other one, like if Arizona runs into Philadelphia, I'm going to be for Arizona.
Right.
It doesn't matter who I'm for. It's not. It's like when I talk about my wife out here. It doesn't jinx it. It's going to happen or it's going to happen.
You say that, Brett, but
me and my big mouth, right?
I might think a little differently on the jinxes and all of that sort of stuff.
I do love when the ceremonial red, white, and blue drapery bunting is out at the ballparks. And it's towel waving season at all the ballparks.
Sure is. It's beautiful.
I was at a what was it? It was a DS game, DS game against the Pirates, closeout game in 2013 on a Thursday night.
Uh-huh.
And Big Matt Adams hit a home run, and I had a good seat down the right field line. And Matt Adams hit a home run. The Cardinals were kind of in charge, 3 up, 3 down in the 8th, and knew going into the 9th. And the guy sitting by me, man, he just waving that towel to beat the band. He goes, "Come on, man, wave your towel." I said, "Only at World Series. Only at World Series do I wave the towel."
Series. That's great. Oh man, they were handing out towels at the Memphis game on Saturday against Boise State. And let me tell you something. Needed the towels on Saturday because it was hot out there, so I could wipe my face off, all the sweating going on. So I was very glad that they were handing out some.
It was gritty and grimy in the Grove, very dusty, very dry. And I felt the same way. I told you before we started today, Memphis Tigers and the Ole Miss Rebels, they tried to kill their fans this weekend.
Whew. Yes, they did. Yes, they absolutely did. And I didn't get to see. Here's the thing with how the timing set up for the Memphis game and the Ole Miss game. So obviously a little overlap there, and so I'm keeping up with the Ole Miss game. They'll run the scores on the scoreboard every so often, and they'll kind of have them at the top.
Is it very real time?
I couldn't tell you because I don't know. I mean, I didn't know the scores when they threw them up there, and so I don't really know. It's just kind of get a gauge on what's going on. Some of these other places. So I see it's like 21-7 or whatever the score was down in Oxford. I was like, whoa! I mean, holy cow! And so we get done with the Tigers game, and we go out to the car driving home, listening to the game, and I think we got into the car, and LSU had either scored to make it 31-28 at that point, and I was like, wow.
That's about halftime.
I mean, ball game again. Yeah, so we got to, I think we heard the last 2 or 3 drives before halftime, and I was like, wow, this game is insane.
That was kind of my day trying to, we came on the air at 3 right when the Tigers are kicking. So, it as you know, it's hard for me to multitask.
Right.
And I'm having trouble, I'm having to be locked in. So the first time I get a Tiger score 17-0. I say, no, man, I know what it's going to sound like next week. I hate this. No. Then I see like 28-17 Tigers.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, comfortable in good shape. And then Boise made a little maybe 21-7, whatever it was. And I go, okay, good shape, everything's fine. Then I think the Tigers are pulling away, and then I don't know how it got to 35-32. I still don't. And I'm going, please don't let this happen, because Brian, I don't think Ryan Silverfield is in trouble. I don't think he should be in trouble. And I'm going to say it. I think if he beats Tulane, I think that following weeks they need to announce a new deal.
Yeah.
A new extended deal for him if he beats Tulane. Otherwise, let it play out and see. And no need bidding against yourself either. I understand the position the department's in, but I didn't want the noise coming from it. But he could not have given away a game loss.
No, he could not have.
But he didn't.
No, you're
All's
right.
well that ends well.
You're right, and that the score was a lot closer than the end of the game, in my opinion, at least. I mean, Tigers score with about 2 minutes left in the game to go up 10, and one of my buddies had somewhere to be. He goes, "Let's go. We got to hit the road." And I was like, "Whoa! The game's not over." They're like, "It's over."
Yeah.
And so we walked out and we heard the touchdown for Boise State to
You
make
hang
it a
around, leave
game.
early, guy.
No, I did not
I
know.
have much higher esteem for you than
Brett.
that.
Oh, Saturday was miserable. This gives me an opportunity to call out my buddy.
I control my own keys when I go to sports.
Well, and
I'm not dependent
I drove.
on one other soul.
I was the one that drove. Well, I guess I shouldn't say I drove.
Then they leave when I get ready to leave.
It was my truck. So I told both my buddies, I was like, look, we're going to get there early. I want to tailgate. I haven't been able to go to a home game this year. I want to go out, experience
You don't
the tailgate.
drink ginger ale.
Exactly. And plus, the years before I've been working, so I haven't, it's been a while since I've just gotten to tailgate. And so I was like, I'm going to go out there early and I'm going to tailgate a little bit.
Now. You wanted to go out and enjoy it.
And so I'm like, look, I'm picking y'all up at like noon and we're going to get out there so we can have at least like 2 hours to tailgate. Well, my buddy's like, I'm not going to be ready then. I was like, all right, well, you can drive yourself and just meet us out there. He was like, okay, cool. He texts me, he's like, hey man, I'm going to be at your house at like 1 o'clock. I was like, you're going to be left behind. And he was like, no, I won't. And so I was like, whatever. So I waited for him. He didn't show up till like 1:20. My other buddy's getting ready. He's like, I need you to pick me up. So I have to go pick him up. James and Acorn, y'all are the worst. In the slight chance they're listening right now, they are the worst. We got there at like 2:30, couldn't tailgate or anything. Had to walk right into the stadium and get to our seats. And then
they wanted to leave early, guy. It almost caused you to run late, guy.
At like 5 minutes later, my buddy's like, now I will say he is a musician, but he's like, I think we need to leave. I got a video to shoot. I'm like, then why'd you come? You should have driven yourself if you knew you had to go.
You were too busy today.
It was we had a good time, don't get me wrong, but I was not happy with either of them before or after the game.
And now, Brian, as sports superstitious as you are,
that is true.
They have to accompany you to the Tulane game.
They may, might have to. And speaking of me being superstitious, later when we get to our Sissy's Log Cabin and look back at the weekend in the SEC, I've got an apology for Auburn fans because I'm the reason they lost that game. It was not because of their defense.
On you, huh?
It was not because of anything that happened in that game. It was because me and when I decided to turn that game on. So Auburn fans, I'll apologize to you again at 4:30, but I owe them an apology. It's completely my fault.
In all seriousness, no, all the stuff in the past, it's in the past for me. It really is. Life's too short, and I sure was there applauding in the good times. Hugh Freeze is showing in this first year, in this first month, he's going to get Auburn right.
I mean, you can say whatever you want about Hugh Freeze. He knows how to coach some ball, and he knows how to get some guys ready for competition, and he's shown that even though maybe not I don't want to say the record, but some of those games have been a little closer. I know that Cal game was a little closer than they wanted, but he finds ways to win games. You're absolutely right.
Harsin doesn't win that game. I think Saturday Auburn had 0 penalties. I think that's right. Let me make sure. I know you're going to do the lineup, but I think they had. Let me look at that.
I know
quick.
if it wasn't 0, I know when I was looking at that game, I know both teams were very low in penalties. So you're probably right if I had to say, but. That was
I'm sorry, I missed it. They had one for 5 yards.
Right. So one penalty. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. But we'll get to all of the SEC action a little bit later in the show. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. At 3:30, John Gowen from Timber Trust Golf will join us to recap the Ryder Cup and disappointing weekend for
Yay for John.
The Americans.
Boo for Ryder Cup.
Yeah, boo for Ryder Cup. That was it was crazy from kind of the off the course antics between the two teams, but the actual play on the course was not fun for the Americans, super fun for the Europeans. Though at 3:45, we'll get into the Tigers and their win over Boise State, overcoming a 17-0 deficit to win that game 35-32. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us, talk some college football. We might get into a little bit of college basketball towards the end of our conversation with David as we're closer and closer to the start of the basketball season. 4:30, we'll get into our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC. All conference versus conference matchups this weekend and some really fun games on Saturday from 11 a.m. and that last game kicking off at 8 p.m. It was a fun day in the SEC. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Tim Buckley from the Daily Memphian will join us to talk about that game on Saturday between Memphis and Boise State. And the Tigers going into their off week before getting ready for Tulane. We'll also have to get a little bit into some Memphis basketball with Tim as they started practice last week. I know Tim Buckley was out there watching the team in their open practice last week and talking to Coach Hardaway after that. So we'll have to get his thoughts on this upcoming basketball season. 5:30, we'll get to our Ruth's Chris Monday Night Football preview and pick. We also got to get to our top 4 quarterbacks for the Giants and the Seahawks. One list, 4 quarterbacks from either the Giants or Seahawks, kind of like we've done the past couple of weeks with those two games. We're just doing one list, splitting between the Giants and the Seahawks. So we'll do that at 5:30. We'll also make our picks for these wild card matchups towards the end of that segment at 5:30. And then we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Taco Bell Crunch Time. We're sitting in our family leisure studios where family and fun come together. The world's biggest spa sale. It's back and bigger than ever. 50 different models to choose from, 5 different manufacturers. Up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas, and free upgrades on all in-stock spas. And the 24-month same-as cash, it's still available, but only at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He is Brian. I am Brett. We are Sportstime, and we're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of it by texting or calling 901-360-8255. From our Family Leisure Studios, we are Sportstime, and this hour is brought to you every day by the one and only Lexus dealership in town. That's Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2023 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2023 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, the Tigers are 4-1 after week 5 in a game that really needed a comeback win in the most drastic of ways. Boise State goes up 17-0 to start the game, but the Tigers, they gritted it out. I mean, in all honesty, they come back and win 35-32. This is a game, and I've said this a couple of times now this season. I don't think last year's Tiger team would have beat Navy a couple weeks ago. I mean, in that sort of game, I don't think they would have won it. I don't think you would have seen the fight that we saw last week in St. Louis against Missouri. I think they would have just given up in that fourth quarter. I think that game last week would have been a 14-21 point win for Missouri if it was against last year's team. And this game would have been easily a Boise State win if it was against last year's team. And that has nothing to do with the talent on the field. This team just has a different mindset around them. We talked a lot coming into the season about those one-score games and how unsuccessful the Tigers were in those close games. And now we're seeing week after week, they beat Navy in a very close game. They beat Boise State in a very close game. They stay competitive with Missouri in a very close game. So this team seems like it has a different mindset. It might be some of those veteran leaders. Seth Hennigan, who watching especially early in that game when they got into a 17-0 hole, Seth Hennigan had missed a couple receivers. It just hadn't played great, taken a couple of sacks. But that bounce back, the comeback from him had some huge throws late in that game. was huge. Rock Taylor stepping up and kind of being this lead receiver. Also say shout out to Kobe Drake. Kobe Drake last week had some big catches against Missouri. He had some massive catches in crucial spots this weekend against Boise State. So I think this team is completely different from last year's team, and they've shown it the past 3 weeks. So I think this sets up really well. Both Memphis and Tulane now have off weeks before that Friday night matchup, so you'll get an extended week before Tulane, and I know they're going to want to sharpen some things up, but I felt very confident after seeing that comeback performance and that fight from Memphis against Boise State.
We've learned so much more about the Memphis Tigers and Seth Hennigan in the last 2 weeks than we learned in the whole Seth Hennigan years at the University of Memphis, and so much more than against Bethune-Cookman or Arkansas State or the Navy. My top story, Ole Miss, and arguably, there's been some good ones out there, but arguably the game of the year so far this year in college football. It will be shown over and over, and the ending will always be the same. And that hadn't always been the case for Ole Miss in those kind of big games. And that's why the reaction was what it was. To people talking about Ole Miss on the field Saturday, let me remind them of the last 5 times Ole Miss has played and lost at Tiger Stadium. Their crowd rushed the field twice.
Wow.
Last year and in 2014. Whew. And they constantly tell the Ole Miss people how little we matter to them, and it's not that big a game. 2 out of the last 5 in Baton Rouge, they've rushed the field at the end of the game. So Saturday night, of course, with that thrilling ending, it was hard to hold the people back. Jackson Dart, after the doubters were out in force after his performance at Tuscaloosa, he stood tall, played very effectively, and had 0 turnovers on 88 offensive plays. That was the difference in the game.
Wow.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's media days all across the NBA, and that's the same here in Memphis as the Grizzlies are talking to reporters today, getting some snapshots ready for the season, and it's fun. I mean, seeing Derrick Rose in his Memphis jersey talking to reporters about his time here at Memphis and how he was sad that he was only here for 6 months as a student before going off to the NBA, and then talking about coming back here and saying that it was a conversation with Ja Morant and T. Morant that really led him to tell his agent, hey, try to see what Memphis wants. See if they have any interest in bringing me there. And ultimately, Memphis did and brought him. Seeing Marcus Smart up there and him joking around with Jaren about, I'm going to make sure Jaren stays out of foul trouble this year. I think these new additions are going to help a lot. We talk about them as players, but also as leaders. I mean, these are 2 veteran guys. Marcus Smart is a guy that has been deep into the playoffs. He's been on these playoff runs with the Celtics. He knows what that postseason is like and how you need to handle yourself in those situations. And then Derrick Rose being in the league for as long as he's been and being at that point guard position, I think a guy that Ja Morant can learn a lot from and kind of lean on as he continues to grow in this league. So it's a lot of fun hearing about Zaire and kind of what happened this offseason, why he didn't participate in Summer League, this kind of program to build him more and make him stronger going into this year. I think we got some answers about this offseason for the Grizzlies, but a lot more to come. As Brett, what did you say last week? Sunday is their first preseason game, so
next Sunday.
I mean, it's going to be here, and that's going to roll quickly, and then we're going to be to the regular season.
Yeah, we are. My not top story. Everybody with that fear of, oh, no, not again at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium Saturday, and it wasn't going to happen again. The Tigers held on. They win, scared everyone half to death. But like Ole Miss, the Tigers in those spots, we've talked a lot about, they lose those games last year. They lose those games historically. Until you're going to turn that narrative around, you got to win them. That's how you do it. I'm not saying the next few years are going to be anything for either, like it's been for Clemson. But remember when Clemsoning was a thing?
Oh yeah.
And they grew out of that. You change it by doing it, and the Tigers did it Saturday in a thrilling style.
They sure did. It was a fun afternoon out at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. My first game I've been at this season, and it was a lot of fun to see them. Really see them play Boise State was a lot of fun, but seeing them get that win was a ton of fun. Well, we got to get to our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Ryder Cup with John Goen.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
We interrupt this broadcast for special news and information concerning family leisure.
The world's biggest spa sale is back and bigger than ever at Family Leisure. How is that possible? Well, let me tell you. You start off with 50 different spa models to choose from 5 different manufacturers. Then you throw in up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. But is that all? Oh, no. You get free upgrades on all in-stock spas, plus 24 months, same as cash. Wow! This is the kind of sale that you just can't have every day. But it's happening right now at Family Leisure, the world's biggest spa sale. Soak in the savings right now at Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. You know the place where family and fun come together.
Please remain calm and walk. Don't run to Family Leisure. And now back to your regular programming.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, Certainteed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Attention taxpayers, ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately, helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-559-8226. 800-559-8226. 800-559-8226.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Cooling or heating system on the fritz? Dripping faucet? Call the pros at Conway Services today and we'll waive the service call fee with any HVAC or plumbing repair. Expert technicians available 7 days a week. Call 384-3511 to schedule your appointment. Visit ConwayServices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19688.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 Traffic.
Good afternoon. MPD on the scene of a couple of accidents. Traffic on Sam Cooper starting to pick up, especially going outbound back towards the interstate. It looks good right now over here on 240 East from Mill Branch all the way out to 385. Bill Morris Parkway, we checked it for you. It's clear all the way out towards Collierville. Hey, don't miss it this year. I'm talking about Smoky Mountain Fall Festival. It's going on now at Ober-Gatlinburg through October 29th. Check it out online at obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. And while there was a lot of college football over the weekend, NFL, even baseball, regular season wrapping up, we did have the Ryder Cup over in Rome where the Europeans took home the trophy in pretty convincing style. But joining us now to recap what happened over the weekend in the Ryder Cup, John Goen from Timber Trust Golf joins us now. John, thanks for joining us. And Ryder Cup, wasn't a lot of fun to watch, especially after the Europeans went up 4-0 in the wee hours Friday morning.
Oh, it was brutal, to be honest. It was extremely tough to watch. Very uninspired American team, especially in the first day. Mm-hmm. Obviously played a lot better toward the end, but just clearly still cannot seem to figure out the away portion of the Ryder Cup. Now 30 years since we've won over at their place. So, just very disappointing. I think you could point to a lot of different things. I think this really goes to show that, some of the live guys could have, I think, contributed to this team. And at the end of the day, that you might still need to take a pretty hard look at how this team is comprised from the standpoint of, I get guys can be hot and have good years. Ricky Fowler, and some of the other guys off of this team, can have decent years. But at the same time, you really need players that have some experience and can gel a little bit and really got to look at formulating the best team and not just the guys who perform well. I mean, I think that's why you have so many captain's picks. And unfortunately, the rift with the PGA Tour and the live players, I think truly contributed to some of the issues that we had this year with the Cup team. So, just very unfortunate. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2 years when we go to Bethpage, and hopefully we can figure some things out over the span of the next couple of years and kind of go from there.
John, it was literally over before America went to work on Friday morning. It was essentially over. And go through the list of all the things in the past we've kind of made as excuses. And Zach Johnson, who can be very whiny, even floated that, we were sick. Well, yeah, their play made a lot of people sick. And, but through the years we've talked about, kind of playing in cold weather climates and sleeves and maybe bundled up. I mean, it looked like they were playing at Palm Beach with the sun splash weather in Italy. Through the years, we say they kind of outfox us on the course setup. The golf ball, it was golf played in the air. This wasn't playing croquet and just kind of batting it around like at Scottish links courses. This was very much in the air, and that golf course setup. I loved all the drivable par fours, and I heard one of the analysts say that they wanted to set it up where we had to hit 180 to 220-yard shots. John, why is that hard for a professional golfer?
Well, if you listen to it, I think the analytics portion, which that's the other comical side of the coverage from this week, is just how much people all of a sudden just started to talk about analytics. But that's, if you listen to Golf Channel and others, that was the portion of where they were substantially better than the Americans were. They kind of teed it up for a lot of those shots to be, between 180 and 220. that's a benefit to them that they were able to do that and be successful at it.
I can see an issue with me hitting a 180, 220 shot. Why is it hard for Ricky Fowler?
Especially now in these days where guys from 180 are probably hitting 8-iron,
No kidding.
With some of this stuff. So, it's obviously real hard to say, but I mean, clearly they used a lot of that data to kind of really talk about, how to set the golf course up, and they were successful in doing so. So clearly, their analytics showed that, and we failed miserably at it.
Yeah. Well, John, you talk about kind of that going over there and not having any success, going back 30 some odd years. And that, what is the problem going over there? Is it the course setups over in Europe, or is it these crowds, these European crowds that are making it so hard? I mean, why can't, and it's the same thing when the Europeans come over here. I mean, what's the problem with going across the ocean and not being able to find success in the Ryder Cup?
I think it still goes back to, at the end of the day, I mean, you got to think about it on a couple of different fronts, right? I mean, Zach Johnson had 2 years to kind of get ready, for this event. Luke Donald had just over a year. You got to think back that Henrik Stenson, at the end of the day, was supposed to be the captain of this Ryder Cup team.
Great point. Great point, John.
Yeah.
And I think that those guys figure out a way to rally around each other. Unlike
they
the
really
Americans,
like each other.
The Americans, right? And we've said this before, and
I think we like them better than we like our team room.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think that these guys clearly make this a much bigger deal. When you talk about major championships and stuff like that, I mean, let's face it, the Europeans don't have a lot of major championships. Americans have a lot of major championships. And so, these guys take the Ryder Cup extremely seriously because it's basically a major for them.
Yeah.
It's their opportunity to kind of, showcase themselves and be a part of a spotlight, and they take it seriously. I think that, the Americans still want to think about, just focusing on majors, and the Ryder Cup's the Ryder Cup. You really hoped that after Whistling Straits that that team and that momentum was going to carry over. And realistically, you really felt like that the LIV defectors were going to impact the European team substantially more than it did the Americans, and clearly it's the exact opposite.
John,
Dustin Johnson.
You know who they can't blame for this?
Go ahead. No, I have no clue. They can blame a bunch of people.
Can't blame Phil Mickelson on this one.
There you go. Can't blame Mickelson. Can't blame Dustin Johnson. Can't blame Bryson DeChambeau. Can't blame a bunch of those guys.
Can't blame Jim Furyk. I say in 2027, not in 25 at Bethpage, but in 2027, the captain should be Tiger Woods, and he should treat it like Nick Saban treats that football office at Alabama.
Yeah, but the problem there is I mean, depending on what the landscape of major golf looks like, or professional golf looks like, I mean, we could still be playing this exact same game, because let's face it, I mean, even as these two entities merge together, there's still clearly a substantial amount of animosity between the tour guys and the LIV guys. I mean, there's no other explanation for Zach Johnson picking the players that he picked other than the fact that they didn't want LIV guys. Koepka, I understand that Koepka was the only one that proved himself by playing the way he played in the 4 opportunities for them to kind of be combined together. But again, where's the point where we're actually trying to win this thing and not try to play favorites with guys who are committed to the PGA Tour? This is not a PGA Tour sanction. If you want to be aligned with the PGA Tour, then play in the President's Cup. The PGA of America sets this thing up, And at
Truth.
the end of the day, the PGA of America allows these LIV guys to be able to play. So if the PGA of America doesn't have a problem with Dustin Johnson or Bryson DeChambeau or whomever else could have potentially Patrick Reed played on this team, then what's the problem? Figure it out. Go find the best team. Don't play politics with what you're ultimately trying to do here.
You just wrote the dossier that should be written on how to win in 25 and 27. It's really just how you laid it out, and I think you laid it out in pretty concrete, simple, easy to understand form. Last thing for our friend John Goin from Timber Trust Golf, and we know you're at an event today. Tell me, when they play. When they play again, no, I'm sorry. I want to ask you a different question. Joe LaCava, inbounds or out of bounds?
No problem with it.
I had a problem with it. I don't think the bat boy should talk.
Look, at the end, if you truly take a very hard look at where he's positioned and everything else, he is so far out of the line of where Rory's at. Rory has to actually come up to him. Now, him going back to Rory, I can understand that. But the initial conflict between he and Rory, I have no issue with whatsoever. Rory wants to move him aside. He's clearly not impeding on Rory whatsoever. Rory wants to, if you look, Rory's 10 feet away from his golf ball before he's even doing it, and he's making the issue, in my opinion, of him being in his way or in his line. He's not even close to the ball.
Yeah. Well, it was those antics were kind of gave the Ryder Cup something to talk about, despite the poor American showing over the weekend. But John, thanks so much.
Who knew we needed Joe LaCava to give him inspiration?
Well, okay, hey Brett, real quick. I know you got to go, but real quick. So if they make up on 18 green, where everybody says they made up, then why is Rory going back after whomever in the parking lot and making a big deal out of this whole thing?
Well, maybe a new log got thrown on the fire. I don't know. I don't know what precipitated that, but I know this. I don't need the bat boy talking trash to the players. There are players and there's caddies.
Sure, true. But at the end of the day, the whole team did it, right?
That's true.
LaCava gets attacked. He's probably been they were dealing with that crap all day long. I mean, the BS story that comes out from the guy from Sky Sports, comes out during the middle of play. I mean, really, that's the time you're going to launch something like that? I mean, why are we coming out with that at 12:30 on Friday afternoon of the Ryder Cup event? Other than the fact that you're trying to get clicks, and that's you're trying to make this more about you than you're making it about the Ryder Cup. What's the big deal about whatever happened? Clearly, they all addressed it. Clearly, they became, they had solidarity on Sunday because the majority of guys didn't wear hats over this whole thing. So, I mean, you got a guy who's completely irresponsible with throwing something like that out there and trying to make a big deal about it. And then, it just fans the flames of, from these fans as to what happened.
Yeah. Wow.
And we don't need much to light the fuse. That a little bit like Saturday at LSU and Ole Miss. It was great seeing y'all Saturday,
I'll tell
John.
you what, it was a lot of fun. What a great football game, and I get back-to-back weekends of LSU. I got Dad's weekend up in Columbia this weekend, so Mizzou, who's undefeated, gets LSU. I have a feeling they won't be. I think LSU is going to be a little upset after Saturday night. But I tell you what, LSU better figure out how to play defense, for crying out loud. Good Lord.
And tackle.
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Good stuff, John Goin.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you, my friend.
All right, guys, y'all take care. We'll look forward to Augusta in the spring.
That's right.
You got it, John. John Goin with us, and I got a feeling we'll catch up with John before spring because there will be golf news because the whole Saudi royal family, PGA Tour, that's not going away. No. What else is not going away is all the great opportunities for the great barbecue we've come to know and love in this area, and there are two great locations just under the commissary label. The new Collierville commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar are the original in Germantown, and it's perfect for a big group to gather up and watch all the games and enjoy the fun times. And you can do it with that Memphis-style barbecue and ribs that are delicious and slow-cooked the Memphis-style way. If you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary to 33733. Start your feast with smoked chicken wings or the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos invented by Walker Taylor and his staff in the early 80s and now a staple at everything in sports. Dig into the ribs or the shoulder, chopped or pulled, on a plate, on a sandwich with all the sides, beans, slaw, deviled eggs, bread, and you can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. Those 6-pack, 8-pack, and 12-pack, that's perfect for tailgating and save room for dessert. Quite a challenge, but you'll be glad you did. Like the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere. The banana pudding's so good, and the strawberry cakes, you can get the whole pies, whole cakes, and a big tub of terrific banana pudding. All of that for any occasion you want to have. 901-754-5540. Go online at commissarybbq.com. They're in Collierville and Germantown, great party areas, orders to go, catering, tailgating, and coming soon. I'll be telling you more about the Holiday Bird. It's coming soon, and with the cooler weather, for me, it's time for Brunswick stew season. 901-754-5540 or online at commissarybbq.com.
Well, let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about what happened at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium on Saturday when the Tigers beat Boise State. That's next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar may both be named Sunrise because they serve a fantastic breakfast. But sometimes you can't get to Sunrise for breakfast, and that's why it's important to remember that they both serve amazing lunches until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You can get a perfect bacon cheeseburger or the Dirty Bird sandwich with crispy fried chicken and buffalo sauce, or the fried green tomato BLT at either Sunrise location every day for lunch. When you think of Sunrise, you may think of breakfast, but when you think of lunch, throw in some Sunrise.
Fall into a hiring spree with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. Roofing and siding, gutters too. We're the pros you can trust to get it done right. Call on us. 5-Ash Roofing, the name to know. 5-Ash Roofing, the only way to go. 5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. 5-Ash Roofing.
Is that not the corniest thing you've ever heard? Can you believe I paid good money for that silly jingle? Well, the experts say make it memorable, and I think I got my money's worth. 5-Ash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. 5-Ash Roofing, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Kevin Harlan here for Monday Night Football on Westwood One. The NFL Week 4 finale has the Seattle Seahawks flying east to take on the New York Giants. Quarterback Daniel Jones and the Giants are off to a 1-2 start, while the Geno Smith-led Seahawks will be hunting a third straight win. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Hey, in New York, right now I'm looking at all of the unders for Jets' offensive numbers. Passing yards, touchdowns, receiving yards. I'm looking at all the unders in New York. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win, FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studios. And the Tigers, I mentioned it in my top story of the day, they're 4-1 now after a win against Boise State. But it didn't come easy. 17-0 in the second quarter before the Tigers put their first points on the board. And after that, it was mainly all Tigers. I mean, they really responded, I thought, in a massive way on Saturday against that big lead against Boise State, scoring 14 points in that second quarter, 21 points in the second half to get that 35-32 win. But like you said, Brad, it was a 10-point lead late in the fourth quarter. Boise State cuts that lead again. Memphis gets it back up to a 10-point lead, and then it ends in it with a 3-point win for the Tigers. But ultimately, like I said, the Tigers 4-1, and that's, I think, where a lot of people were hoping they would be before the start of the season.
It's exactly where I had them, and it's exactly where. No, you had a loss to Boise preseason.
Yikes! Well, people were hyping this team up so much, Brett. I mean, everywhere I looked, it was either Tulane as the Group of 5 team or Boise State. So I thought, these people probably know a little bit more than I do, so I have to go with them.
What?
I was wrong. Nothing. Clearly.
Clearly, you did have 8-4, so that swings it to now 9-3. If you're right, the rest of the way. I was 9-3 to begin with for the Tigers. And I think it can be better than that. Mm-hmm. And I've got a loss in the next two in the preseason to Tulane and to UAB. I don't think that's happening.
Right.
I don't know if there's a single loss in the next two. The season is setting up, I mean, almost perfectly. Just could be fairy tale.
Yeah, and with how good Missouri's played, I know, Saturday was against Vanderbilt, but I thought they looked really good against Vanderbilt. And now they're in the top 25, a big game this weekend for them, like John was just saying, against LSU. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's shaping up to be a very good season for the Tigers with what they've already done through 5 weeks.
And the Tiger, we know a lot more about the Tigers than we did, say, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. In adversity against better teams, I think you learn more. I think it's the best 2-game stretch of Seth Hennigan's Tigers football career, and he's had plenty of good 2-game stretches. Yeah. But I think this is the best one. I know one was a loss, but Saturday to take care of that ball, similar to Jackson Dart, could not afford one boo-boo. One boo-boo cost you that game Saturday. It's how narrow these games are. And for a lot of teams, you mentioned LSU going to Mizzou, and I'm straying from the Memphis Tigers. I don't want to. I want to give them plenty of time. Chemistry is a big issue in a lot of locker rooms now.
Oh, yeah.
The checkout factor, everybody's scared of it when that preseason goal goes away. LSU is interested in going to Columbia as they would be if they were undefeated?
No, not at all.
Doesn't feel like it, does it?
I don't think so.
So but on the flip side of that, Memphis Tigers plenty engaged.
Yep.
Almost any time your open date falls, somebody will say it's the perfect time. Well,
Sure.
I think the most perfect time would be after you played 6 with 6 to go. 5's close enough.
Close enough. You're right. I mean, this falls in a good spot. Now, Tulane also has their off week this same week, so both teams are going to come into that game very fresh.
They scuffled with UAB.
Needed a comeback to beat UAB. I mean, they were down pretty good early in that game. It shocked me.
And Brian, let me remind you again. I want to give the Tigers time, but it's things I've seen this year. Ole Miss's offensive front could not move Tulane around, and moved LSU around at will.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard multiple people say that this weekend of kind of talking about the physicality could be a problem with LSU. I mean, you go back to that game against Arkansas 2 weeks ago, where they Arkansas kind of gave it to LSU a little bit, and then on Saturday against Ole Miss, you kind of saw the same thing. So I think that's going to be one thing that we look back this season and talk about LSU is that kind of physicality, especially in the trenches, you just didn't see.
But I am drawing it back to this, and this big pot of stew of college football as it sorts out, as you stir it around and you throw some more stuff in it. Memphis Tigers are falling out in pretty good shape in it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a great start to the season. You talk about that one loss and being as close as it was, seeing that fight from the Tigers, like I mentioned earlier, you know, that game could have easily been a 14, 21-point win for Mizzou, and they stayed in there.
Brady Cook gave you a great look for running into Michael Pratt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I think the Tigers are as ready as they can be and will be as ready as they can
Biggest
be.
Game of the year, October 13th.
Absolutely.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, it is.
100%. I mean, I think if you can get a win at home against Tulane, I mean, you're kind of in the driver's seat for that American Athletic Conference Championship game.
You know who's really strutting around at Tiger Lane come that Friday night? That $60 ticket buyer.
Oh, absolutely.
My fifth game, it's $12, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Win this one next time out, it's $10. You should have got in on the deal I got in on.
Gambled and won. I mean,
sure did.
It's what it is. But, I mean, talking about this game yesterday, we talk, and I know it's going to be a question I asked Tim Buckley at 5 o'clock when we talked to him. I feel like we've talked about it week after week, but the slow starts for the Tigers. And one here, I mean, that first quarter couldn't move the ball at all against Boise State. You get down 17-0 and you turn it around. But at some point, those slow starts are going to have to stop.
Another reason for a big crowd needed October 13th to energize them coming out. Don't come out and kind of have that sleepy feeling to it. Come out and know this is big. Look up in these stands at these people. That's why October 13th needs to be chock full.
I think you're absolutely right, and I heard some players after the game kind of call what they did in that first quarter lackadaisical, and so you don't want them to come out like that against Tulane. So we'll definitely have to get Tim Buckley's thoughts on these slow starts from the Tigers. We'll do that at 5 o'clock, but we need to get to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot of college football with David Cobb from CBS Sports.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
This new Wendy's Frosty flavor is way too exciting to keep under wraps. It's a brand new, first-of-its-kind flavor. Get this, pumpkin spice. I know, right? It's so good. It's rich, it's cozy. It's the perfect flavor for some fall Frosty time. Watch, everyone will see it and jump on the bandwagon. Grab a never-before-seen Pumpkin Spice Frosty or Pumpkin Spice Frosty Cream Cold Brew today when you choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Vanilla Frosty is temporarily unavailable.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and there's a gas station at the next exit offering 25 cents per gallon cash back.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FRIEND to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FRIEND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FRIEND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan absolutely loves her Genesis diamond ring.
I got so many compliments as soon as I got the ring and continue to get compliments on it, because it looks really pretty on my finger.
Kylie's husband Jay heard folks in the music industry raving about Genesis, but he also did a lot of homework on his own.
When it came to finding the ring, he took it very seriously. He did all the research. I think he knows more about diamonds than any man in the entire world, and that's how he landed on Genesis. He just knew that they were the best.
Jay Dave picked out a stunning, flawless, pear-shaped diamond in an elegant setting. Got the value price Genesis is known for. And now they both tell everyone they meet about the amazing Genesis experience.
When you walk into Genesis, you can just feel the happiness. You know that they're helping find something that symbolizes the love that you have for your partner, and you can feel that as soon as you walk through the door.
Always been you, and I've always been your wife.
Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Tino was up against the wall with a car just a few minutes ago on 240 eastbound just past Walnut Grove. Again, it's already starting to build over there on that side of town on 240 as you come past Bill Morris Parkway. Heavy traffic now trying to get out of Midtown as we stare at it live. I'm talking about 240 south from, let's say, Union all the way down to Norris. Hey, don't miss it this year. Smoky Mountain Fall Festival at Ober-Gatlinburg. It's going on now through October 29th. Check it out at obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Joining Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan now on Sportstime is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
Well, joining us now to talk about the weekend in college football, David Cobb from CBS Sports is with us now. David, thanks so much for joining us. And I want to start with the Tigers because I know we talk a lot of SEC, we talk a lot of these national schools with you, but I want to get your thoughts on the Tigers through 5 weeks. 4-1, had to come back and get a win over the weekend against Boise State. But what have you made of this Tigers team through 5 weeks?
Yeah, what a huge win for the program for Ryan Silverfield over Boise. I saw the score at 17-0. It was on one of my other screens, and then I changed it to another game because I thought it was over. I mean, I didn't see a pass back for Memphis with the way it looked there through the first quarter and a half of that game, and I was stunned when I looked later and saw that they had come back to win, to the extent that the first thing I did was go to find the highlights from the game to see what happened. And I think one play that sticks out above the rest in that game is the blocked field goal return for a touchdown, because that's the kind of breaks they weren't getting last season. And those are they were on the other end of those types of plays the last couple of years, it felt like. And so, is that repeatable? Are you going to block a field goal in every game to help you win? No, of course not. But it's nice to see them get some good breaks. Kind of like they didn't play their best against Navy, too, but they found a way to win. And in the past, it felt like in those games, like against Boise and against Navy, that Memphis would have lost those games. They might be sitting here at 2-3 right now. But they found a way to win in those situations. And you know, you could even look at the Missouri game and say, well, we didn't get the breaks there, but, you know, Missouri was probably the better team there. They're still unbeaten. And I think Memphis, any Memphis fan, right, correct me if I'm wrong here, but would have looked at this schedule, the teams that were on it at this point, and would have taken 4-1 through 5 games, right? I mean, it's a very good trajectory as league play starts to heat up. And I think Tulane is gettable, and I think the Boise victory should give them some confidence going into a really big league game.
David Cobb, college football, it's like the jukebox. You just put some change in it, and it spits out a hit. Every weekend, you know, a lot of times we think maybe a low-key, sleepy, not as glamorous weekend. Then we have it. Here would be my college football playoff top 4 right now. My 1 seed would be Florida State. My 2 would be Texas. My 3 would be Michigan. My 4 would be Washington. How right, how wrong am I?
I don't have any major problems with that. So in my poll right now, I mean, I've got Michigan 1, and I even had them there prior to this week. I think some other people joined me on that train with how thoroughly they dismantled Nebraska and with how iffy Georgia looked again. But I've got Georgia 1, Michigan 1, Georgia 2. I mean, and then after that, it remains very much up for grabs. I've got Washington in that mix as well. And then that kind of last playoff spot, there's a number of teams at the moment that have a case for inclusion there. You look at Texas, they have the best win, arguably, of anyone in college football on the road in Tuscaloosa. But Ohio State's right there, unbeaten, won on the road against Notre Dame. That's arguably as good of a victory as what Texas did in Tuscaloosa. So, and the list goes on. It's a good fight. It's a good battle at the top this year. Nothing feels like a foregone conclusion. When you've got a team like USC with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and one of the best offenses in college football, all the way down at number 9 in the AP poll, I think that tells you there's some pretty good depth at the top, which makes it interesting. It's not a foregone conclusion this season who we're going to see in the college football playoff.
The Kentucky win over Florida. Who does it say more about, Kentucky, Florida, or Tennessee?
That's a great point you bring up, because leading into that South Carolina game on Saturday, a lot of my Tennessee friends were lamenting the fact that Tennessee got spanked by a Florida team that then turned around and was whipped by Kentucky. I'm still not totally sold that Kentucky is any better than any previous version of Kentucky under Mark Stoops. I still think this is kind of the same old Kentucky, which isn't a bad thing. That's a 7 or 8 or 9 or even a 10-win team. So still a good team, but not one that I think is any better than some of the better teams we've seen under Stoops to this point. So to me, it reinforces the fact that when Tennessee lost to Florida, Florida played as close to a perfect first half as you will see Florida or any other team, for that matter, play this season. They executed to perfection in the first half against Tennessee. Tennessee could not get out of its own way. And now Florida's kind of back to square one, because it felt like with that win, they were going in the right direction. But you go and look at their Utah loss, too. That is not aging particularly well.
No.
When you look at the way Utah has struggled offensively. And this may not be a Pac-12 champion caliber Utah team if they can't get Cam Rising back. And the fact that Florida lost that game, we could still be looking at a 6-6 or at best maybe 7-5 Gators team.
Well, you mentioned Cam Rising. I feel like I have to ask you this every single week, David, because I feel like, people thought he was going to play in that first game against Florida. Now we're getting ready for week 6, and Cam Rising still hasn't made a start for Utah. Are we going to ever see this guy play this year?
Right. I'm just kind of waiting for the story to come out about what's really going on here, right? What's the hang up?
Who plays first, Steven Adams or Cam Rising?
That's fantastic. They look like they could be cousins too. Maybe there's some genetics there that went wrong.
It really could. Except about a foot difference. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, not quite on the same level there. Both really tough dudes though. I think Rising is got to be back when they play Cal, which is after a bye week. So they've got their bye this week, and that's 2 more weeks of Cam Rising on the mend, recovering from a torn ACL. And you got to think the fact that he's been out there warming up. He's been out there. He's practiced, right? And he just hasn't quite been ready to go. They're not out of it yet in the Pac-12 race, and I think we'll see him. And you don't want to play him in his first game of the season against USC or against Oregon or one of those types of teams. So to me, Cal at home after a bye, if he's going to play, that's got to be when it is. So don't count Utah out yet. This is a team that always loses a game early and then finds a way to be there at the end. But if that's going to be the case this year, he's got to play for them to have a chance.
David, I want to stay in the Pac-12 because after watching as much as I could before having to get out to the Memphis game, as much as I could of that Colorado-USC game, USC's defense is going to be their Achilles heel this year, isn't it?
Same old story, man. And let's be real. That game was over. Colorado made it respectable. They rallied late.
Mm-hmm.
They salvaged some dignity. but USC controlled that game. It wasn't like Colorado actually had a chance to win in the end or whatnot. However, you're correct in the assertion that the USC defense remains a problem. And it's been this way for Lincoln all the way back to the beginning of his Oklahoma tenure, because Alex Grinch, who he's been so loyal to, puts defenses out there that get gashed, that have problems. And they got picked apart in the second half against Colorado. And I know they might have played some other players. They might have been in some softer coverages than usual due to the score of that game and the fact that they were up by 4 touchdowns at one point. But still, no excuse for how easily Colorado was able to move the football in that game. Because as we saw against Oregon, when pitted against really high-level athletes and good defenses, that Colorado offense is not spectacular. But they managed to look spectacular anyway in the second half against USC, and that says a lot about where the Trojans are at defensively and a lot about why they're all the way down at number 9 in the AP poll this week.
Is Alabama really well, or was the perfect tonic playing Ole Miss at home and going to state?
They're making progress. I think there's a little bit of a want-to, a little bit of an edge there, maybe, that wasn't there against Texas and wasn't there against South Florida. A little bit of a swagger that's back. And what a huge game this week. I mean, Alabama versus Texas A&M, this could very well decide the SEC West. Of course, Ole Miss is still going to have its say in that after beating LSU, and who knows?
Don't count out LSU just yet. They won it last year with 2 losses.
Sure did.
That's right. Yeah. So the West remains wide open, absolutely wide open. I think Alabama's very much in that mix, but I remain in the camp that Alabama will take another loss. Have not seen enough from this team offensively. The defense is getting better, but not elite. I believe Alabama will lose another game. And fact is, they're less than a touchdown favorite against A&M. A&M is okay, right, but it hasn't blown me away. I think Alabama is better than the team we saw against South Florida, but not a national title contender in my view.
David, in my now 16 years at Ole Miss as part of their crew and the honor of my lifetime to be that, and nothing's ever going to top 2014 and the goalpost coming down against Alabama. I say that nothing's ever going to top it, but right now that's leader in the clubhouse, and it's got about a 6-shot lead. Saturday night was really close to it, though. It was about as thrilling an Ole Miss win ever in Oxford over LSU, and just the 4th win for Ole Miss over LSU anywhere in the last 14 years, and Lane Kiffin has 2 of those, 2 years ago on Eli Manning Day and Saturday night.
Isn't it interesting how the narrative all week coming out of that Alabama loss was Lane Kiffin can't win the big game, and Ole Miss only ever beats the teams they're supposed to beat, and then he turns around and beats the reigning SEC West champion, a top 15 team, Brian Kelly, one of the best coaches of this era to not have a national title. And that's a feather in his cap and a way to silence the critics. What a game, too. I mean, just incredible. Crazy. Just one of the, I don't know if we'll see a better game this year. How in the world is a college football game 55-49 without overtime? I mean, that was spectacular. And
3 hours and 50 minutes, 88 offensive plays for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I can't imagine how long the highlights ran on y'all's post-game show because there must have been a lot to get to. But I thought the most encouraging part about it was the fact that Ole Miss started to run the football pretty well again, or reasonably well. I mean, maybe they're not quite where they were last year, but they bit off chunks in the ground game. That opened up their passing game. And when I made my pick on this game for CBS Sports last week, I wrote that LSU had the horses defensively up front to continue frustrating an Ole Miss run game that has not lived up to its expectations this year. And then they kind of flipped that script with getting Judkins going, and that was a remarkable game, a huge win for Ole Miss, and one that just threw the SEC West into further chaos.
talking to David Cobb from CBS Sports on everything that happened over the weekend in college football. David, is this just going to be the Georgia team this year that kind of just sleepwalks through the first quarter, the first half, and then wakes up in the second half? I mean, it seems like now, what is this, 2 weeks in a row that they've been down early, South Carolina and now Auburn, and then they come back and win. And if that continues this season, do you think somebody could pick them off this year?
I do. I do think they're susceptible to a loss. How costly would a loss for Georgia be? That's up for debate because they could lose a regular season game, but so long as they won the SEC title game, they would still be okay. But I do think they're at risk because their defensive front, to me, is not as daunting, as intimidating, as fierce or dominant maybe as it was during the 2 national title seasons when they had Jalen Carter and those guys up front. I mean, they're still loaded with former top 100 prospects in their defensive front 7, but we've seen Auburn and South Carolina be able to generate positive plays in the run game in a way that you just would not expect against the Georgia defensive front. And I thought Hugh Freeze had a really good game plan against Georgia. They got way deeper into the run-pass option stuff, even let Thorne keep the ball. I don't think Georgia was ready for that or expected that. And Peyton Thorne made them pay with his legs on a few occasions. Now, if they play that game again, Georgia's ready for that wrinkle. Maybe they cut out a couple of the turnovers. Georgia can easily win that game by, 24 points or something. But we're sitting here going into October, and Georgia is 0-5 against the spread.
Wow.
That is unexpected, and it's a sign of the fact, too, that their offense has not been quite as explosive as we expected it to be with the wide receiver transfers they got from inside the conference, Ra Thomas and Dominique Lovett. You thought, okay, sure, they're moving on from Stetson Bennett, but Carson Beck's going to have more weapons at his disposal, and they won't skip a beat. But they've skipped a beat. They are not as good at this moment as the last 2 Georgia teams were.
And now this week, Georgia and Kentucky, a matchup of undefeated against undefeated. I did have Kentucky undefeated to this point. I had Georgia undefeated, and I did have Mizzou, but I had LSU undefeated. I had Bama undefeated. I had Texas A&M undefeated. I had Tennessee undefeated, and there's just undefeated. 3. There's just 3 remaining. Isn't it really illustrative of something, and kind of him? That the biggest critic Mark Stoops has had at Kentucky has been John Calipari.
That's accurate, right? The only one throwing shade at Mark Stoops is on his own campus. That program has been as steady as they come under his direction, and that win over Florida, their 3rd straight over the Gators. I mean, that was a series that was as lopsided as any annual game in college football. And the fact that Kentucky has won it 3 times in a row is shocking and got to be infuriating if you're a Florida fan. And you give credit to Kentucky because they hadn't played anyone going into last week. And then they get Florida, and they don't just win the game. They absolutely dominated.
They made them like it.
Yeah, with Ray Davis running the football, that was dominance. Now, I don't know.
A Vandy transfer, Ray Davis.
No kidding. And if you can run for 1,000 yards of Vandy, you must be a pretty good back.
You're tough.
He's really getting a chance to prove that now. And I don't know that recipe works for Kentucky against Georgia, though, because it's going to be hard to line up and go smash mouth bully ball against the Bulldogs. And we still need to see more from Devin Leary and from some talented young receivers that I feel like have been a little bit underwhelming to this point for Kentucky. But my gosh, if they are able to put it all together in 1 week, they could be dangerous. Like this Kentucky team has potential, but they've also got some tough games left on the schedule. And as I mentioned, maybe not a team that I see surpassing the best teams of Mark Stoops to this point, but 14-point spread on the road in Athens. I'm still leaning Georgia. They've got to cover a spread eventually. But they'll be tested because if they come out flat like they did against Auburn, against South Carolina, Kentucky is, I think, a better team than South Carolina. It's a better team than Auburn. And another performance like that, and eventually Georgia ends up on the wrong side of one.
David, I want to get to some college basketball, but I'm excited about two games this weekend in college football that I want to ask you about real quick. The first one, Texas versus Oklahoma. Do you think people are talking enough about Oklahoma? I've been so impressed with that offense this season. The second one, Maryland versus Ohio State. I've heard a lot of people talking about Maryland this year. I'm a big fan of Charlotte football this year. I watched when Charlotte played Maryland. I'm just not impressed with this Maryland team. Now they've got this big test against Ohio State. What do you think about these two games this weekend?
Yeah, Maryland doesn't have a chance against Ohio State. I'm sorry. That Ohio State defense is as good as any that Ryan Day has had. Okay, sure, Kyle McCord in the offense maybe aren't as explosive as they were with C.J. Stroud and those guys and the elite level receivers. I mean, obviously, still have Marvin Harrison Jr. and still really great there. But, yeah, for whatever Ohio State may lack defensive or offensively this year, they more than make up for with that defense. And Maryland typically has reached this point in the schedule, had to play a good team, and then they've just completely collapsed. So I kind of can envision that occurring again this week against Ohio State. That's just a really tough spot for them. But Oklahoma-Texas could be a phenomenal game. I think everybody's kind of writing in Texas as the easy winner there. But we've seen flashes and moments of Oklahoma on both sides of the football this year that have been elite. I mean, their defense and at times has been as impressive or more impressive than the offense. And it's looked like the Clemson defenses that Brent Venables was the coordinator of. And then they go and give up 20 points in the first half against a really bad Iowa State offense. And so you're just like a little confused on which version of this Oklahoma defense you're going to get. If you get that version, like we saw in the first half against Iowa State, then Texas can score 40 or 50 on you.
Right.
But if you get the version that went on the road against Cincinnati and held them to like 6 points, that's a defense that can keep Oklahoma in this game. And I think Dylan Gabriel is one of the best quarterbacks, maybe one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country. He's very comfortable in this system, and he seems to have a good feel for what this offense needs to do to win the football game. And sometimes that's a lower scoring, grind it out, run some clock, run the football type of system against a Cincinnati. But then he showed against Iowa State when the defense is struggling that they can go up there and put up a monster number.
Mm-hmm.
So Oklahoma has the potential to win this game. It does. I'm not sure that I will pick it to win, but it has a chance.
I like it. Well, we're about a month away from college basketball. We'll even have some exhibition games towards the end of this month. But the biggest news over the weekend in college basketball was the injury to Donovan Clingan, the center for UConn. It sounds like he'll be out about a month, and I think the start of their schedule kind of sets up well for him being out. Northern Arizona, Stonehill, Mississippi Valley State. But then they've got Indiana, potentially a game against Texas in the middle of November. How big of a piece will he be for UConn's team this year, kind of defending their championship from last year? And what are you worried about his status for these two games against Indiana and Texas?
Yeah, I am, because Donovan Clingan was my pick. Okay, we did an exercise at CBS Sports. If it's not going to be Zach Edey, then who would be your pick to win National Player of the Year?
Ooh.
And I went with Donovan Clingan.
I agree.
Wow.
Because
might be first pick in the draft.
He could be a lottery pick if he can play this season, be fully healthy, and translate the numbers that he produced last season to 28, 29, 30 minutes. He could have the Zach Edey breakout season that Edey had last year, because he's not splitting the front court with Adama Sanogo anymore. So if he's healthy, he's in the running for first team All-American and all those Player of the Year awards. UConn, I think, will be fine. Here's why. They've got another big who's been banged up, who has yet to reach his full potential, that Dan Hurley absolutely loves. Samson Johnson, that's a name to watch in college basketball this season. Somebody who wasn't in the rotation for the Huskies last season because he was injured. He didn't get back, and they were at full speed without him, and it was going to be hard for them to work him back in late in the season. Well, he didn't transfer. He didn't pout. He stayed around, and now he's got a chance with Sanogo gone and Clingan hurt to shine and be a double-figure guy and rack up some double-doubles this season. And so I think UConn will be fine. In fact, I think in some ways playing a few games in November without your best player can help you down the road, because it forces other players to step up. it puts you in an adverse situation prior to the pressure of conference play in the postseason. So not ideal, but maybe there could be some positives in the long run to take away from Klingen's injury for UConn.
Well, like I said, college basketball, it's right around the corner. I'm super excited for the start of the season. But, David, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
Okay, guys, I appreciate it.
Thanks, David. David Cobb from CBS Sports joining us every week to talk mainly college football, but we're going to have to start getting some more college basketball in there.
It's crossover time.
And I know for David, that's when everything's going on.
Like we're not going to talk college basketball in Memphis, Tennessee.
Man.
Come on.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about it.
We are a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's just right around the corner. But let's go ahead and get to a break, because when we come back, we've got to get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. That's next on Sports Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, I want to talk about our seasoning and sauce today. Our sauce is a great blend of sweet, mustard, and vinegar. It's good on so many items other than barbecue. It's good on pizza. People use it in lieu of ketchup. But our seasoning is the original dry rub, created by my father using a mixture of Greek and Cajun spices. People think our sauce and seasoning are good just during the grilling season. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's good year-round. Our seasoning is good on fish, chicken, deviled eggs, corn on the cob, French fries. People even put a dash in a Bloody Mary. To get a complete list of all of our recipes using our products, go to hogsfly.com, click recipes, and you'll see 50 wonderful items and dishes. And Brett, our sauce and seasoning is available at most grocery stores, and if they don't have it, please remind your grocer to stock it. And our slaw is also available at most Kroger stores.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Hey, sports fans, this is Ultimate Vegas Insider John Anthony, and I'm on fire. To prove it, I'm releasing your Monday Night Report absolutely free on recorded message line. Last 3 weeks, I'm 7-2. That's 77% winners. I'm red hot. Call 1-800-216-6615. Seattle, New York is a lock. Plus the total of bases to parlay. 5 big plays, John Anthony has you covered. We go 5-0 over the season free. 1-800-216-6615. Information wins. John Anthony Sports #1 against spread. I'll prove it. Seattle, New York is a monster. Win the side, win the total. Parlays and teasers cash in. A $200 player wins $2,000 tonight. Recorded message 1-800-216-6615. We go 5-0 over the season free. 1-800-216-6615. That's 1-800-216-6615. Or go to johnanthonysports.com.
Begin your exciting career in broadcasting today. Jobs in advertising, sales, promotion, news, business administration, engineering, and more are available throughout the state. Find out about career opportunities by visiting the Tennessee Broadcasters Virtual Job Fair at broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com. Get information about opportunities available in the broadcast industry as well as specific positions here at Flynn Broadcasting Corporation. Apply online now to begin the process of establishing a career in Tennessee's exciting broadcast industry. Minorities and women are strongly encouraged to visit. Brought to you by Flynn Broadcasting Corporation at www.broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. 800-462-3333.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelge and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop here on Sports 56. Real sports talk.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. That car is still up against the wall in a terrible, terrible spot. Watch for it over here on 240 eastbound, just past Walnut Grove, as traffic volume starts to really increase over here on this side of town. On 240 as you come past 385 Billmores Parkway, still moving right now, even in the construction zone on 55 north and southbound between Macklemore and South Parkway. Don't miss it this year. I'm talking about Smoky Mountain Fall Festival at Ober-Gatlinburg, going on now through October 29th. Check it out, obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta. The national champion is clad in big orange.
And Saturday got started early with Kentucky playing Florida in Lexington, and it made it 3 straight for Mark Stoops over Florida, and it was easy. And again, like I asked David Cobb, I don't know who it makes it look the best or the worst, Kentucky, Florida, or Tennessee in this. Ray Davis, 280, 4 touchdowns, Vandy transfer. Florida's lost 7 of 8 away from home under Billy Napier. 0 sacks of Devin Leary. He didn't even have to wash his uniform. UK now 20th in the AP poll. Only 69 yards rushing for Florida. Almost 400 yards total offense for Kentucky. 10 penalties for Florida. Next week, Kentucky at Georgia. Florida, they will be at home against Vandy, but it was all Big Blue, C-A-T-S, cats, cats, cats.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, when you see Kentucky only threw for 69 yards, that you would think, oh, they just got completely dominated. But no,
Here
it's
you go, boys.
all they had to do was just hand the ball off to Ray Davis, Vanderbilt made, and I mean, honestly, because of what the transfer portal what the transfer portal is now, Vanderbilt could become like the Oakland Athletics, where they get them in. They kind of develop. It is very sad. More on that later, actually. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they could be where they develop guys and then they decide to go other places. These other SEC teams are seeing them, and you know these coaches.
Right, I said somebody should have gone out there and gotten Ken Seals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so all these other SEC coaches are seeing these guys. They're prepping for these guys. They're watching the film. And I'm not surprised. I mean, somebody in Kentucky last year said, let's write down this Ray Davis guy's name and maybe give him a call at the end of the season. And now look what he does against Florida. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised of the win from Kentucky, but I was surprised the fashion it came in. 280 yards, 3 touchdowns is just absolutely incredible. Big win for Kentucky for sure.
Texas A&M 34-22 over the Razorbacks in Arlington. Both teams had interceptions for touchdowns. A&M had a punt return, 82-yarder by Nice Smith, 2 touchdown passes for Max Johnson, 7 quarterback sacks for DJ Durkin's A&M defense. Arkansas had to settle for 3 field goals. I thought that was big. Since A&M's joined the SEC, 11-1 over the Razorbacks, 59,000 in attendance. At one time they were dreaming of 75 and 80,000 for that game. Can't wait till that gets on campus and gets out of there. Arkansas, 42 yards rushing. A&M this week, they will play at home against Bama, and Arkansas will be in Oxford and is really as desperate as it's been in the Sam Pittman years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this was a weird game because it was really low scoring at the beginning. That first quarter into that second quarter, kind of low scoring, and then
7-6 game.
Oh,
for a
absolutely.
while.
And then those offenses just start picking up, and defenses too. I mean, you had 2 pick sixes in this game, so really fun to watch. I was a little disappointed in what I saw from Arkansas because I thought after that loss, even though it was a loss last week against LSU, I thought that was going to be like a building block game where they could really turn around, especially with that offense, and especially getting Rocket Sanders back. But KJ Jefferson only 132 yards, a touchdown, interception. Rocket Sanders, his first game back, only 34 yards on 11 carries. But one of my favorite things to do is when watching this Texas A&M team is watching that defense play. You talked about the 7 sacks. 15 tackles for a loss. I mean, it is unbelievable to watch this defense play. And Max Johnson, I thought he looked really, really good in his first start of the season, obviously having to come in there for Connor Wegman, and also added 57 yards on the ground. So we talked last week about, kind of your best option to have if you're going to have to turn to a backup is Max Johnson. And I think he showed why on Saturday against Arkansas.
Georgia 27-20 over Auburn at Jordan-Hare. They won't play next year in the South's oldest rivalry. But this year it was Carson Beck to Brock Bowers for a 40-yard touchdown to really save the day for number 1 Georgia. 4 catches for 120 yards just in the fourth quarter for Brock Bowers. 22 straight for the Dogs. Beck finished 23 of 33 for 313 yards, touchdown and interception. 219 rushing for Auburn, only 1 penalty. Yep. Hugh Freeze is making that team better. Auburn much improved. Auburn next week, open date. Georgia, they host Kentucky.
I need to apologize to Auburn fans because I'm sitting at the Memphis game, and every 20, 30 minutes I would kind of look on my phone, check scores, whatever. I get a notification saying 2020 Georgia versus Auburn in the fourth quarter. I'm like, oh, man, I've got to pull this up on my phone and watch it. I pull it up, not 2 minutes later, I think it was I think they were in a timeout when I got there. I think literally the next play was the big throw and catch to Brock Bowers for the game-winning touchdown.
I think Bowers had more to do with it than you bringing it up on your phone. I really do.
I think
don't
so.
Crush yourself.
I think so. But all joking aside, you're right. This Auburn team is looking better and better week after week. In Georgia, I asked the same question.
Auburn beat somebody good for the year's over.
I think you're right. But I asked the same question to David Cobb, but it's starting to feel like this is the Georgia team we're going to get, where they come out and they kind of sleepwalk through the first quarter, through the first half, and maybe trail, and then
that'll get them in
and
one
that's
game.
going to get them. They always wake up in that second half and go, oh, we're Georgia. We should be killing this team and win, but it's going to get them eventually. David brought it up earlier, but I was impressed with Peyton Thorne led the way with 92 rushing yards for Auburn. I was really impressed with that. But all in all, Georgia wins again, but I was really impressed with what Auburn showed in that game.
Mizzou 38-21 over Vandy in Nashville. Memphis Tiger fans, stop me if you've heard this. Brady Cook, 395, 4 touchdowns. Luther Burden, 140, 2 touchdowns. Good running game. 347 straight passes without an interception for Brady Cook. He really cooked. Mizzou next week at home in Tigers versus Tigers. They're 1-0 in that matchup already this year. And Vandy next week at Florida. If Billy Napier loses that one, he's officially on the being fired watch list, and Scott Strickland should join him.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. But Missouri, 532 yards of total offense. They added 137 yards on the ground. And then what you said was what Brady Cook and Luther Burden did. And I'll be honest, it's not hard when you have a guy like Luther Burden. He makes your job as quarterback very easy when you can just find him and 9 times out of 10 he's going to be wide open. But
just flip it out there to it and watch the show.
Exactly. And so, really impressed with what those two have done over the past couple of weeks. And on the other side for Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt. I don't know if Will Sheppard has another year of eligibility left. I know some teams are starting to put the, kind of beside their name of how many years of eligibility you have. I don't know if Will Sheppard has eligibility left, but if he does, if he has one more year of eligibility, I would not be surprised. We talked about Ray Davis a second ago. I would not be surprised if Will Sheppard's the exact same way, kind of their go-to receiver, having a really good season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at another SEC school next year and is one of their primary weapons. He's a very, very good receiver. And I'm thinking if he has another year of eligibility, there's a coach out there in the SEC saying we could take this guy and make him a real star in our program.
Ole Miss 55-49 over LSU in Oxford. Record-setting crowd at Vaught Hemingway. Largest to ever see a game in Oxford. Ole Miss, fourth win in 14 years over LSU. Lane with two of those. Jackson Dart, 26 of 39, 389, 4 touchdowns, 7 rushes for 50 yards, a touchdown rushing. But the big number, 0. 88 plays, 0 turnovers, 0 interceptions, no fumbles, not even any drama with the ball. He took great care of it. Trey Harris, 8 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. He's back. Quinshon Judkins, he's back. 33 rushes, 177 yards, a touchdown rushing, a touchdown receiving. On the other side, Jaden Daniels made throws all night into great coverage that NFL quarterbacks can't make. What a player. 414 yards, 99 yards rushing. He was just, you couldn't rush him. If you really rushed hard after him, blitzed him, he would tuck and run.
Yep.
If you let him sit back in the pocket, he would burn you. Ole Miss wins the game next week. Ole Miss at home against the Razorbacks and LSU at Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, offense is pretty much the only way to describe this game. It was unbelievable watching these two quarterbacks go out. I mean, you just mentioned both of them. I mean, you've got two quarterbacks that completed over 65% of their passes. Both had over 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1,343 combined yards of total offense in that game Saturday night. You mentioned what Quinshon Judkins did, kind of that breakout game he needed this season after a couple of slow games, but talk about Ole Miss in fourth downs, 2 for 3 on fourth downs, and that was huge when you talk about how that game ended. You needed both of those fourth down
and one of those was the early throw to him on that wheel route.
Yeah,
on the first drive.
So
that kind of got lost.
Yeah, so I mean that game was fun to watch. I didn't get to see the first part of it, but I got to see all of the second half, and I just could not take my eyes off of it because of how high-powered both those offenses were playing.
It's going to be real fun to watch next summer when I know how the ending.
Oh yeah,
when I know the ending. Saturday night, it was fun Saturday night, but oh man, it was a nerve wrecker for sure. Tennessee 41-20 over South Carolina at Neyland. 3 different UT running backs. They scored and they got Cooper Mays back in the offensive line. I think that helps Tennessee. Very average Spencer Rattler. Joe Milton, not great. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. UT's defense really controlled this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought this was a big game for Tennessee because I remember last week everybody around the country was saying South Carolina plus 12.5 is the play for this weekend. Tennessee obviously hasn't shown much, and it was never close. And I thought that was huge for Tennessee to kind of have that statement game when it seemed like a lot of people thought that they weren't going to really show up against South Carolina. The run game for UT, 238 yards and 3 touchdowns. We've talked about Jalen Wright in this segment before. 123 yards, 1 touchdown. Jabari Small, the Memphis native, added another touchdown on 59 yards running. So, I mean, that run game and that defense is really what propelled Tennessee on Saturday night. But you talk about that defense, South Carolina could get nothing going that entire game. And I kept thinking, at some point, the South Carolina offense is going to do something, especially after what we saw them do last week against Mississippi State. And they just could never find it. So I thought a huge win for Tennessee.
Open date for both teams this week. Bama 40-17 over Mississippi State in Starkville. Late Saturday night game. 16 straight for the Tide over Mississippi State. Milroe was efficient. Chris Braswell with the interception for the TD for the Tide. 0 turnovers for Alabama. 3 for Mississippi State. 193 yards rushing for Bama. That was the game. That was the difference in the game. Bama, they got well the last 2 weeks. Or did they? We'll see. Bama at Texas A&M in College Station this week, and State at home against Western Michigan.
Yeah, I like you said, I thought Jalen Milroe was very effective in that game, 10 for 12, passing 164 yards. But that Bama run game, they got a lot of touches to a lot of different people, 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the other side, Will Rogers, a rough game for him, only 107 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions on only 27 attempts. So really couldn't get the pass game going. We know what Mississippi State wants to do in that offense.
His confidence really looks shaky.
It really does. And if you can't get that passing game going for Mississippi State, you really can't get that offense going.
That's our look back at the weekend, brought to you every week by Sissy's Log Cabin, supporter of Tigers Athletics and sponsor every week of our look back at the weekend in the SEC on Mondays at 4:30, official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies, and FedEx Forum with the Floor Seat Lounge seating, unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll get to big number of the day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, Certainteed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
If you've tried to buy a Rolex watch lately, you know how difficult it is. New models are in rare supply. Some jewelers put you on wait lists. Others make you buy their other jewelry at inflated prices just to be considered for a Rolex purchase. Well, that's all changed now that Genesis Diamonds has arrived. Genesis Diamonds is the premier dealer of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. People who come in are shocked to see Daytonas, Hulks, Submariners, Pepsis, Datejusts, all the hard-to-find Rolex watches ready to wear today. At Genesis, we've used our worldwide connections to find only the first luxury pre-owned Rolex boxes, immaculate, pristine watches, fairly priced with no strings attached, and with flexible financing options. So enough with the wait list and the retail jeweler games. Get the Rolex of your dreams today at Genesis Diamonds. And if you already have a Rolex and are interested in trading up, we also have Rolex buyers on site every day. Just another example of how we're forever changing the jewelry landscape here. Genesis Diamonds, official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Oh, come on, it's funny.
Can't do it.
Trick or treat, here's some meat.
Seriously, the Central Barbecue spot for October has been about Halloween for like 5 straight years.
Look, you've done the ladling Central Barbecue beans into their bag thing.
Yeah, I got in trouble both times. They didn't like the phrase ladling beans into their bag.
Well, what else happens in October? Hey, I tell you what, do they do any pumpkin spice stuff?
God, no.
That's good. I'm tapped for anything else for October. How about just a straight spot about how great the food is at Central Barbecue?
What, like Central Barbecue has the best slow-smoked ribs in Memphis?
Yeah, something like that.
Too boring.
It doesn't matter, we're out of time anyway.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, I lost my big number, but I found it, so I'm ready to rock. My big number today, I'm going to go with a baseball big number in honor of the playoffs starting tomorrow afternoon. My big number is 92, a high big number in these terms. 92 is a percentage, 92%, which is, in terms of percentage, a very high percentage. On September 6th, the Chicago Cubs had a 92% chance of making the postseason. Brett, as you know, they did not make the postseason, so I hate it for the Cubs. I really don't. But
I really don't either.
That's almost impressive to have a 96 or 92% chance of making the playoffs on September 6th in the final month of the season.
They just had to have a pulse down the stretch.
And even that percentage, and even throwing in the fact that they were up 6 runs 2 nights in a row against the Braves and lost both of those games. And if they had just won one of those games, they probably would have been in the playoffs. And so hilarious that the Cubs are not in the playoffs. Makes me, as a bitter Cardinals fan, it makes my soul happy.
Me too. A little Schadenfreude here. A lot of Cardinal angst in all this. And saw a Cub friend of mine Friday night in Oxford. I said, y'all going to the same postseason we are.
That's rough. That's rough, Brett.
My big number, I have a baseball big number. It's 55. I thought we were getting really close to the same one when I get to my 92. 55 years ago today, on October 2nd, 1968, Bob Gibson went out on the mound of the World Series and struck out 17 Detroit Tigers.
Wow.
In Bob Gibson's career, Brian, and I tell you, I try to set you straight on some of the old-timer stuff about, believe that.
Uh-huh.
That's a little bit of a fish story there. This is one, like I tell you about the Coliseum and Keith Lee. Believe every one of those stories you hear about them. Believe them all about Bob Gibson. In his career, 81 innings pitched in World Series play, 92 strikeouts.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Bob Gibson, 55 years ago today, October 2nd, 1968. Another big number for me, 1343. That was the combined offensive yards Saturday night for Ole Miss and LSU in a 54-49 Ole Miss win. Highest scoring game ever between those two teams. And it was like tennis. I mean, it was tennis and baseball. You had to break serve, and you couldn't swing and miss. You couldn't whiff. You had to get a little something. Ole Miss was down 9 with 5 minutes to play.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that game was crazy. That game, I said it earlier, in the second half, I could not take my eyes off that game. I mean, there were other games that I wanted to go to. I couldn't because I was just so locked in. I also loved the tennis reference from you, Brett.
Like I know tennis. Laughably bad, isn't it? How about the Florida Gators running their goal line defense, the old 7-6 defense, and Kentucky still walked into the end zone. Had 13 out there. Did you see it?
I heard about it. I saw the video of it. I didn't see it in real time, though.
Had 13 not penalized, and Kentucky still strolled into the end zone. Another baseball big number, 307. That's the number of home runs this year for the Atlanta Braves, and 47 of those came in the first inning.
I'm telling you, the Braves and what they did in first innings this year, I don't think any team will ever be able to match you in.
Took people's soul early in games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you were down. I mean, there were plenty of times I would look up, and I would see Braves, top of the second, and the Braves were up 4-0, 5-0, you know? And I'm like, what happened in the first inning that I missed? And it's just that lineup with that many hitters in there, and they just got their job done early. I've got another big number, and you talking about Kentucky and Florida's defense made me remember this big number. We talked about Ray Davis and his 280 yards of rushing. That is now third most rushing yards in a game in Kentucky history, tying him with old Shipwreck Kelly from 1930. How about that?
Hey, salute out to Shipwreck.
Old Shipwreck.
And be careful, late on a Monday, a little tired and a little tongue twisted saying Shipwreck.
Oh, yeah, you got to be careful. But
hey, real quick, let's get these baseball picks for tonight. AL wild card. I'm sorry, for tomorrow afternoon, rather. It's for tomorrow afternoon. Mm-hmm. That first game in the American League tomorrow afternoon will be Tampa Bay hosting the Rangers. Who do you take for that series?
Give me Tampa Bay.
I take the hometown Rays as well. All the games will be played there. Second game that starts at 3:38, so we'll be on there, so we'll pick it now. We'll pick the other two tomorrow. Blue Jays at Twinks. I hope the weather's kind in Minneapolis. Give me Toronto.
Good Lord, I do not like this matchup at all, but I guess I'll take the Blue Jays. I mean, the Twins, the only reason the Twins are in the playoffs is because they're in a terrible division. So I just have to take the Blue Jays, right?
We'll do Arizona and Milwaukee tomorrow because that'll be it'll be while we're doing our show tomorrow, and we'll do Marlins Phillies tomorrow because they play at 7:08. So I take Tampa Bay and Toronto, and you do as well. That was
a couple great vlogs.
Glad we
How
built
about
up that big moment, didn't we?
Well, I'm hoping maybe tomorrow we'll have some differing answers.
We promised to do better in this last hour for Riveting Radio, don't we?
That's right. We can only be better the next hour than we were the one before. So let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk some Tiger football with Tim Buckley.
We interrupt this broadcast for special news and information concerning family leisure.
The world's biggest spa sale is back and bigger than ever at Family Leisure. How is that possible? Well, let me tell you. You start off with 50 different spa models to choose from 5 different manufacturers. Then you throw in up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. But is that all? Oh, no. You get free upgrades on all in-stock spas, plus 24 months, same as cash. Wow! This is the kind of sale that you just can't have every day, but it's happening right now at Family Leisure, the world's biggest spa sale. Soak in the savings right now at Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. You know the place where family and fun come together.
Please remain calm and walk, don't run to Family Leisure. And now back to your regular programming.
Hey, sports fans, this is Ultimate Vegas Insider John Anthony, and I'm on fire. To prove it, I'm releasing your Monday Night Report absolutely free on a recorded message line. Call 1-800-244-5506. I love tonight's matchup. Seattle, New York is a monster, side and total. Seattle, New York, critical information confirmed, plus Thursday's early release. That's 5 big plays. John Anthony has you covered. I love to go 5-0 free on a recorded message. 1-800-244-5506. Information wins. John Anthony Sports, #1 against the spread. Seattle, New York is you. Call 1-800-244-5506. You want information? I've got it. I love to go 5-0 or the season free. 1-800-244-5506. Critical information confirmed. I've got it. I love to go 5-0 or the season free. That's 1-800-244-5506 or go to johnanthonysports.com.
Sponsored by JFSR Group.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You could just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Vergos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and there's a gas station at the next exit offering 25 cents per gallon cash back.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FRIEND to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FRIEND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FRIEND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Right now, we're looking at 2 cars involved in a crash. It's over to the side, but a lot of rubbernecking going on. I'm talking about 40 eastbound near Germantown Parkway, between Abilene and Germantown Parkway. Again, it's starting to slow out on that side of town. They're wrapping up an accident at White Station at Cole Road. It's picked up with more volume in the construction. 55 northbound up by Macklemore South Parkway. Smoky Mountain Fall Festival going on now at Ober-Gatlinburg through October 29th. Check it out, obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Oh, yeah. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time with Bryant and Brett as we start our 5 o'clock hour. And joining us now from the Daily Memphian to talk about the Tigers and what they did against Boise State this weekend, Tim Buckley joins us now. Tim, thanks so much for joining us. And through 5 weeks now, the Tigers sitting at 4-1, that only loss coming against Missouri 2 weeks ago. But what were some of your biggest takeaways from that win against Boise State? Obviously needing that comeback down 17-0, but it kind of made the right adjustments at halftime and really dominated in that second half.
Well, I tell you what, down 17-0 in the second quarter there, their season might have been hanging in the balance, because if they ended up getting blown out in that one and go into that Tulane game with a bad attitude and get stomped, and all of a sudden now you're sour on what your conference chances are, it could all gone south for Brian Silverfield and the crew. But they showed some resiliency. They showed some want it, and they got it together. That the special teams play, obviously, with the block by Jeffrey Canton-Arca was absolutely huge. I think that was a real tie turner. And if Seth Hennigan doesn't hit Rock Taylor with that 53-yarder, and a couple plays later they connect on that, I guess it was 19-yard or whatever it was, touchdown pass. It probably doesn't happen. So you tip your cap to them for getting the act together. But, boy, they have got to get off to a better start against Tulane.
Yeah, but Tim, you're right. You are so right. It was fragile. I'm watching the score and I'm going, oh no, man, next week's not going to be fun. And then they come back and they pull out a thriller, and you learn a lot from it. And confidence is so fragile out there for all of us, but especially for a 20-year-old. And with that kind of sports near-death experience, a lot of times it makes you a lot better. We talked all summer. We talked with you at AAC Media Days about the 3-game stretch with the open date, Mizzou, Boise State, now the open date next Friday night against Tulane. I say so far so good. Splitting with Mizzou and Boise and playing very respectably in St. Louis, and then the win Saturday, all's well that ends well.
Yeah, I think basically they are where pretty much everybody thought they would be this season after the Mizzou game. And then, a little lagniappe with the win over Boise State, because going into the season, nobody really knew what Boise would or wouldn't do. And even after their first 2 losses, nobody knew what they would or wouldn't be, because they faced, Penix and Washington. And, he's a potential Heisman candidate. He might end up in New York. And they lost the UCF game on a close one, too, on a close one. And so you really didn't know, how good or bad Boise would be. And boy, when you're looking at them up 17-0, you're thinking they're awfully good. So they basically are where you thought they would be. I thought, honestly, going back a little bit, I thought Missouri controlled that game for most of the game. Yes, they had a chance to tie first play of the fourth quarter if there wasn't the interception. But even at that point, you still kind of felt like, Missouri could, if they had to, could come up with something on offense, because that Tigers defense gave up too many big plays. But they hung with an SEC team. I mean, I know, kissing your sister and all that stuff, but they hung with an SEC team for most of 4 quarters, even if Missouri did seem like they were cruising a little bit. And now you go into this Tulane game exactly where you want to be, with what should be, for them, hopefully, a huge crowd.
Tim, here's my transitive property on all the college football. Ole Miss could not move Tulane at the line of scrimmage at all. Moved LSU at will. This week, Mizzou's playing LSU in Columbia, and I think they stand a chance to stay in that game, maybe win that game. When Memphis plays Tulane, they're playing a really high-level team that I think both Memphis and Tulane this year in the SEC would sort it out pretty well for themselves.
Kevin Bacon ends up on the sideline on October 13th.
Somehow.
Tie it all together. Yeah.
Somehow. Or he's standing there in the Animal House scene. Everybody remain calm.
Oh, goodness. That was a lot to digest there.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Look,
I was trying too hard, wasn't it, Tim?
But you know what? Look, their only loss for both of them is to an SEC team. There's something to be said for that. Tulane has Michael Pratt, the quarterback, back, and maybe they have a chance against Ole Miss without him. Who knows? He wasn't great in his first game back against Nichols, an FCS program that, despite being 1-3, don't be deceived by that, is actually a pretty good football team. They played a really tough schedule. I think they had TCU early, and they had a number 10 FCS program on their schedule early. Well-coached team, too, by Tim Rebo.
And Tim, we know you get all those players kind of south of I-10, they can play.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Actually, total aside, I happen to know Coach Rebo real well. He was a longtime defensive back coach at Louisiana University of Louisiana when I was covering the Raging Cajuns.
Wow.
And he actually, this is getting like totally off track here. A few years back, I don't know if you remember or not, but there was that one year when the hurricanes were just blowing through Louisiana, hitting the Gulf Coast hard and everything. And that Nichols team relocated to Memphis for quite a while because their facilities just got blown out. And I remember talking to Coach Rebo after that, and he was so grateful to the Memphis community and everybody over at the University of Memphis for accommodating the way they did when they were really in a time of need. But boy, did I ever digress. I have no clue where we were.
No, I love it because we and you know that area well. That pot of players down there, they're unlike any other. I mean, in really a lot of different sports. Tim Buckley with us from the Daily Memphis.
I'm telling you, the Bayou kids. I'm sorry to interrupt. The Bayou kids and a lot of those New Orleans kids, they can compete anywhere in the country.
Oh, yeah.
They sure can. And Tim, I'm gonna stay with the digression. I've said about that part of the world, especially south of I-10, and I mean it lovingly. It's their own world. It's a different world.
Oh, yeah.
They literally have their own language.
Oh yeah. I lived in it.
Fascinating.
And it's a fascinating culture. It really is. And they're just good, honest, hardworking people that work and play with a whole lot of grit and a whole lot of fun, and let the good times roll and all that. They do their fair share of that, but when it gets time to doing some work, they know how to do that as well. So I'm with you on that.
Talking to Tim Buckley from the Daily Memphian. And Tim, you mentioned kind of these slow starts for the Tigers when we first started talking to you. What is Coach Silverfield saying about these slow starts, especially the one on Saturday? And when you're watching, I mean, what are some adjustments you think this team needs to make to get off to those faster starts?
Well, I don't know that he necessarily has a true handle on it.
Right.
They're being super conservative with their play calling, opening things up a little bit probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, I asked Seth Hennigan about, and his eyes lit up when he started talking about it, just how much when he hit Taylor with that 53-yarder, how much he just loosened up the Boise State defense. Maybe take a few more chances early. They got to do something, though, to get in sync, because what Rock Taylor was talking about afterwards, he was talking about sour faces, and he was talking about guys pointing fingers at each other. When you got that kind of stuff happening in whatever it is, the fifth game of the season, that's not a good thing.
You don't want that.
And if they hadn't gotten it turned around, like we talked about before, it could have been trouble. So maybe they use this off week more than the cliche, good time to heal because you're banged up and all that. Maybe they take some of this 2 weeks just to make sure that they're on the same page. Maybe take a camping trip or do something. Have a little kumbaya moment because they need to get it together.
Tim, I think around college football, and we'll see it in college basketball, that with all the different things that go into the team chemistry now, I mean, it's just not like it used to be. This morning I visited with Jason Munns. I hosted Dave's show, and he was talking about the trip that the Tiger basketball team took, and it was good for them. Everybody's trying to find that right mix of chemistry, and where it really gets challenged in for college football, that first setback or two. And we know what 2 losses, it kind of derails any conference championships or nationally any college football playoff appearances. I think you better get your chemistry set before you endure a couple losses, because if you have the wrong kind of losses, there goes the locker room.
And it's amplified in the portal era. I mean, it's always been
Sure
like
is.
that, but now it's ratcheted times 10 because you got guys coming in from all over. You got, it's not like the old days when you had guys who were playing together for, 4 or 5 years, and there was 50-year seniors who had known each other since their recruiting trips when they're teenagers, and now, they're 22, 23-year-old kids. It's not that anymore. It's guys who are one and done guys in college football, not in college basketball. College football, They're one and done.
Right.
And they're
The
on to
ultimate
another
team
program.
sport.
They're in their third school. They're guys that are in the portal for a reason. They and this is not to demean anybody, but they weren't good enough at the SEC level. They had an issue with the coach somewhere else. They weren't starting, and so they're pouting. Or the opposite. They they were under recruited out of high school, and they absolutely excelled at the FCS level or the D2 level. You got to be careful when you're recruiting, when you're picking up guys as heavily out of the portal, as both the Tigers football and basketball teams have done, because you got to make sure you got guys who are there for the right reason, not guys who are using you as a stepping stone to get from FCS to Group of Five to you want to play with an SEC program next year. Not some guy who put up gaudy numbers somewhere else and now wants to add on top of that so he can get his NFL shot and all that. It's changed the whole. It not only changed the calendar of recruiting, it's changed the philosophy of recruiting, but the complexity of making sure you do your homework on these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim, you mentioned Rock Taylor, and he's just had a fantastic season, and him and I've thought Kobe Drake has come up with some really big-time catches in crucial moments these past couple of seasons, two of the returnees in that wide receiver group. But for Rock Taylor, how big has he been for Seth Hennigan and for this offense, a guy that really these past couple of seasons, he struggled finding consistent time out at wide receiver, but now kind of the main guy out there for Seth Hennigan.
Yeah, coming off clearly his best 3-game stretch of his career. His best game probably was prior to this season was probably last season against Utah State in the bowl game.
Yeah,
when I think he had 4 catches, but he's lighting it up. I think he's had 23 catches so far this season off 38 targets. So maybe tighten that up a little bit, but he's showing some dependability. He's putting up the big numbers. He gave them an element on. I keep going to that 53-yarder. I think that was the biggest play of the game, or maybe in a close tie with the block. You need somebody to take the lid off. Like you need a go route threat and to loosen things up, and he did that. Now he's not always going to be that guy necessarily from what I gather, but somebody has to be there. And you know what? Without it, you got defense that's just keying all night on Blake Watson. So I think if he isn't already, Rock Taylor should be Blake Watson's best buddies right after all his offensive linemen.
You're right, Tim, and Blake Watson, he's bringing it. Even when they all know he's getting ready to bring it, they bring it. We're going to do it on Wednesday at 4:30. If you want to pass, if you want to do this in column form, and you don't want to blow it all right here, right now, you don't have to. But we're going to get the grade book out for September on Wednesday at 4:30. What would be Tim Buckley's grade for Tiger football for the month of September?
Well, because I always hated the whole A through F system throughout grade school, I'm going to go with pass.
I like it.
I love it.
Why not?
I
love it.
Bryant knows one of my big world views about college football is week to week. It's pass or fail. If you win, it means you passed. If you lose, I don't care who you are, you failed. It's win or die.
Think about it. After you graduated high school, how many people ever asked you, did you get an A or a C in class blank?
Bingo.
Nobody.
Nobody
cares.
That's
Did
a
you pass
great
or you
point.
fail? Are you behind a year or are you not?
Wow.
That's it.
I mean,
Did you advance, or are you back with everybody a year younger than you?
Great point. Wow.
Cum laude, summa cum laude,
That's right.
or Pi Kappa Phi, which I was Pi Kappa Phi. I mean, at a
Tim,
certain point in life,
it
none of
reminds
that
me.
matters. Either pass or you fail.
It reminds me of when I ran for vice president of our fraternity. My closing speech was, everybody vote for me because I'm putting it on my resume. Whether I win or lose, nobody checks that crap.
Another great point.
Won in a landslide.
The rest of Brett's resume.
Well, it's a little shaky, Tim. I can assure you.
Yeah, that might be what we need to do on Wednesday is take a look at Brett's resume.
There were some lost academic years in there, Tim. I can assure you.
Tim, I'm curious, what have you thought about this secondary through 5 weeks? It was one group that I really wanted to pay attention to because of some of these young guys that have had to step up and be starters, and you've seen some teams kind of pick some of these cornerbacks off, especially the past couple of weeks. But as a whole, what have you thought about this group?
Absolutely the best pickup in the portal by far, even maybe head and shoulders above Blake Watson. Simeon Blair.
Absolutely.
My goodness, that guy can play.
Yeah,
and Arkansas needs him now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, supposedly there was, some issues there with that defense, one of the worst pass defenses, whether he was the fall guy for that, whether he was a fault for that. Who knows? Who cares? He's playing great football for the Memphis Tigers right now. Hard hitter. He's brought that whole secondary together.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing terrific as a unit, and they're allowing things to happen in front of them that, at least in the games that I saw last season, and I came, granted, in the middle of the season, but it was things that the defense wasn't able to do,
right?
Up front, off the line with their linebackers and whatnot. But they're getting it done on the backside, and I think probably Simeon Blair is the biggest reason for that, and he can lick a hit now.
Yeah. Yeah, he can.
And he looks very much the part.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has been impressive, and I'll say that he has been a big part of that secondary. But, Tim, thanks so much for joining us,
Tim.
And we'll have to do this again soon.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much. Tim Buckley, just so much fun to visit with him from the Daily Memphian on Tiger football, and he's right. It's a pass for the Memphis Tigers, and we'll get the grade book out on Wednesday, but we're going to do letter grades, A, B, C, D, or F. No pluses, no minuses.
I love it. I
You
can't
ready?
wait. Oh, I need to bring my mom's all her grading materials that she uses to grade things, and maybe I can give a more accurate grade to some of these teams.
Speaking of academics in the past, we actually one time found the grade book.
Ooh. How about that?
Yeah, that was a lucrative find. But we're going to go grades. We're going to do teams. We're going to do position groupings. We're going to do coaches. We're going to do from national teams. We're going to have SEC grades. We're going to have Tiger grades, AAC grades.
I'm excited.
We're going to do that at 4:30 on Wednesday. This hour of our show brought to you every day, and we're so proud to have them on our team. And that's Hewlett and Dunn, Boot and Jean on the historic square in Collierville since 1961. Charles Hall, he started working there in his teens, and now with his wife Laura, they own the place, known for all the boots, but also accessories, clothing, cap for any team, for any season, and for any occasion, whether it's work, dress, casual, anything you want. They've got the Western wear. They've got the work boots. They've got the safety toe or soft toe. They've got rubber boots for every occasion at Hewlett Dunn, from head to toe. They have you covered with every brand imaginable. Ariat, Dan Post, Anderson Bean, whether for men or women, they have it.
Well, and it's not just the boots. Men's and women's clothing, jeans, pants, shirts, shorts, outerwear, and the best duck head collection you'll find. Charles and Laura Hall invite you to 111 North Center Street or to HewlettDunn.com on the square in Collierville. Hats, sunglasses, boot care products, and every area team snapbacks and cool hats that you can think of for the Tigers, State, UT, Ole Miss, and the Razorbacks. And for travel, their bag selection is absolutely top-notch. HewlettDunn.com, but please visit and say hello at 111 Center Street on the square in Collierville at Hewlett and Dunn, and we thank them so much for being with us every single afternoon, sponsoring our 5 o'clock hour. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we've got to talk about this Monday night football game, a big one tonight against the Giants and the Seahawks. We'll do that in the next segment for sure.
We will. Before we get to break real quick, I want to go over our picks from Friday.
No, Brett, I think we need to get to a break. I don't want to go.
You ready to throw to break?
I don't want to go over those records from this past weekend. I think, man.
We tell it for good or for bad.
I was trying to get out of this. I knew you were going here. I was trying to get to a quick break, and then you stopped me.
I know you were. I finally, 4-2 in college to get me to 15-17 for the year in college. I was 4-2 Saturday. We were 0-1 on group locks. We both had the Tigers, and, boy, we lost by a half point there. We already count that as a win. No, we don't score like that. You were 1-5, minus 4 points.
Yep.
College football for the year, though, you're 18-14. NFL, we both went 2-3. We lost both group locks. We were 0-2 on that. We both had Miami, not even close. We both had New England, not even close. For the year in the NFL, I'm 8-16. For the year in the NFL, you're 14-10. So overall for you, 32-24. That's real good. I think that's real good. And I am 23-33 for the year. But we're going to have a pick on Seattle and the Giants when we come back. But we got to go over it, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, what a bad weekend. And I was sitting at my house here. Another one. Oh, man, another one. I had already put 2 check marks down for the Bears. They were leading big over the Broncos. I said, "Oh man, what a shock pick from me! Get the cover and the
double
win."
hit.
And then they stormed back and won. So a rough weekend.
Bears are really bad.
The Bears are really
bad. It's not Justin Fields.
No, it's not. I mean, everybody wanted to put the blame on him. I think for good reason before this week, but one of his best games ever throwing the football yesterday, and they still couldn't get a win over a bad Broncos team. But we're going to bounce back with this pick for the Seahawks and the Giants. We'll get to that after this break. We'll break down tonight's game. We'll get to our pick, our preview. We'll also have to get to our top 4 quarterbacks for the Giants and Seahawks. One list made up of both Giants and Seahawks. We'll do that next with our Ruth's Chris Monday Night Football preview.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Whether it's date night, a birthday, or just because, raise a steak in celebration at Ruth's Chris. Open in the Regalia Shopping Center at the corner of Poplar and Ridgeway. Treat yourself to one of our classic USDA prime beef steaks, seasoned and broiled to perfection. Then serve sizzling hot on one of Ruth's signature 500-degree plates. Visit Ruth'sChris.com to make a reservation. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Memphis. This is how celebrating more is done.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. If you need a new roof for your home or business, we hope to hear from you and will work hard to earn your business. We are experts and certified in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and gutter installation. I have been serving the Memphis area for over 20 years, and now with 2 of my sons working with me, we plan to be here for years to come. So if you need a roof, please give us a call. On a personal note, what a great time it is to be a Memphis sports fan. With the Grizzlies and the Redbirds and 901 FC, not to mention Tigers football and basketball, it's going to be a fun year. Thanks to Coach Silverfield and Coach Hardaway and their staffs for their dedication to the student and athletes, the University of Memphis, the City of Memphis, and us fans. Five Ash Roof Services, a proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
It doesn't matter if you're at the lake, if you're hunting, fishing, playing golf, or just playing around, Scooters Plus can hook you up with the mobility that you need. Scooters Plus has the largest vehicle and parts inventory in the Mid-South and the best service department. You can choose from ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, motorcycles, dirt bikes, trikes, scooters, and even electric bikes. Come in today to start or wrap up your holiday shopping with 25% down on Christmas layaways. Scooters Plus, 3425 Summer Avenue. Call Sam at 458-8843 or go online to scootersplus.us.
It didn't take them long. Genesis Diamonds is now the undisputed value leader here in Memphis. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and people who have gone into Genesis Diamonds with a budget have often left spending less than they thought they would, and they end up with a better diamond, a bigger diamond, and a nicer ring. I'm telling you, Genesis has disrupted the old school jewelry store scene right here in Memphis. It starts with value. Genesis is a direct diamond importer where they get their diamonds from the world's best diamond cutters with no middleman. I call it extreme value. Genesis is also the authorized retailer for all the top bridal designers, so they have the rings on every woman's wish list. They back up every purchase with a 100% free lifetime warranty. That means no charge ever for things like sizing or cleaning. All this in a fun, relaxed environment with no commission salespeople, no pressure of any kind, and no retail pricing games. We've needed a place like this for years here in Memphis, and now Genesis is here. It's quite a change from other jewelry stores with traditional prices, limited selection, and insane markups. Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended in Poplar Commons.
Begin your exciting career in broadcasting today. Jobs in advertising, sales, promotion, news, business administration, engineering, and more are available throughout the state. Find out about career opportunities by visiting the Tennessee Broadcasters Virtual Job Fair at broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com. Get information about opportunities available in the broadcast industry as well as specific positions here at Flynn Broadcasting Corporation. Apply online now to begin the process of establishing a career in Tennessee's exciting broadcast industry. Minorities and women are strongly encouraged to visit. Brought to you by Flynn Broadcasting Corporation at www.broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's finally starting to improve a bit from that earlier wreck on 40 eastbound out there between Abilene and Germantown Parkway. There's still a lot of traffic volume out in that area trying to get out towards Fayette County. It's busy as expected over here on 240 as you get on to 385. That's still pretty clear right now as you head out towards Collierville. Hey, don't miss it this year. Smoky Mountain Fall Festival at Ober-Gatlinburg going on now through October 29th. Check out all the fun details at obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Tonight in the Big Apple, where Sunday Night Football was last night, it's Monday Night Football at Seattle. Cross-country trip. Pete Carroll's kind of got that down, though, doesn't he? They have to do it a lot during the year, all the way across the country, laying 2.5 in the Meadowlands, now at MetLife Stadium, against the Giants. Can Brian Daboll really kind of rally around that game plan, cowboy up, pardon the pun, Brian, for this kind of game? We will break it down. We'll have our Big Four all time, but this is our Ruth's Chris Monday Night Football pick and preview. And it's brought to you by our friends at Ruth's Chris. That's a perfect place to watch and celebrate. Tonight you can hear those sizzles all the way around town, and it's how celebrating and enjoying Monday Night Football should be done. Really, for any occasion, treat yourself to one of the classic USDA prime beef steaks, seasoned and broiled to perfection, then serve sizzling hot on one of Ruth's signature 500-degree plates. Trust us. If you touch it, you'll know we're telling you the truth. At Ruth's Chris, Memphis, in Regalia, with plenty of safe, free parking. Kevin Johnson, outstanding general manager. Jared Wells, his executive chef. And they want everyone to know right now, start planning for the holiday season. You need to start now for that perfect event. Open for lunch on Sunday. Happy hour Monday through Thursday, 4 to 6, and Sunday, 3:30 to 6. Most hospitable steakhouse in town. Ruth's gift cards are always available. Patented boiling method. Hear the sizzles and enjoy Monday Night Football with us on all the TVs. Visit ruthschris.com to make a reservation and celebrate the right way at Ruth's Chris Memphis. As I said, we both went 2-3 in the NFL, so let's get the pick portion of this out of the way, I like Seattle big in this. I'm sorry, I like the Giants big in this tonight with the travel across the country, and I think the Giants have the better quarterback play. I didn't last year. I don't this year. I don't trust Geno Smith. I don't know that I love Daniel Jones that much, but I do in this spot tonight. Give me the Giants plus the 2.5. Home team plus 2.5 on Monday Night Football. That used to be wagering dynamo right there, Brian. A home team on Monday night getting points. May not still be the case, but I'm going to try it tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty split in this game. The Seahawks have won 70% of their games on Monday Night Football, so that makes me want to believe in them tonight. But this defense for Seattle has really struggled, especially against the pass, and I think New York will pass a lot tonight on this Seattle defense. But I'm going to go with the 70%. I'm going to take Seattle on the road minus the 2.5. We're just going to throw a shot in the dark here and see what happens.
I think it will be lower scoring. I don't know what the Vegas over and under is, but I think
give me a second and I'll tell you.
You got it. I think it'll be a low-scoring affair. Neither one of these quarterbacks strike fear in the rest of the league. And the Giants don't have many, especially with Saquon iffy to injured, there are not many game breakers for Seattle or for New York. Seattle's got game breakers. Arlington native, Kenneth Walker, and Ole Miss's DK Metcalf.
So the total right now is at 46.5, and it looks like a lot of the money is coming in on the under right now.
Oh, man. Oh, what I know, though, with the picks I made this year. I love that under.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
that under. But, right now, it feels like the game, the tone gets set early. If it's rat race, there's no stopping it.
Right.
I mean, they're like Buffalo and the Dolphins yesterday. Which you kind of expected that to be. That's not a fair comparison to that game tonight. So you take Seattle, I take the Giants tonight, and Monday Night Football from MetLife Stadium. Eli Manning was back in Oxford this weekend. He lives right there, very, very close to MetLife Stadium in the Jersey suburbs, and always says it's a lot different pace in Oxford than it is in New York City.
I'm sure. But I'm sure it's a good time up there. I'm sure he has fun.
All right, these all-time quarterbacks, we'll see if Eli Manning's on some of these lists. We're combining both Seattle and the Giants. You can take whatever order you want. We want yours at 901-360-8255. For Seattle, you don't have Rick Myra in here, do you?
I do not.
Okay, good. You got Matt Hasselbeck?
Maybe.
Okay. Fire away.
All right, so my top 4 from both the Giants and the Seahawks. Number 1, Eli Manning. I mean, I don't know how you can put anybody else up there at number 1 other than Eli Manning. Even though we're doing 2 teams, I still think he's number 1. Number 2, Matt Hasselbeck. I've got him at number 2, what he did with those Seahawks
took a team to a Super Bowl.
I mean, absolutely. It's impressive to do with a franchise like Seattle. Number 3, I'm going to go Phil Simms, a very good quarterback with the Giants, so I'll put him at number 3. Number 4, I don't think anybody else has this guy on their list, Brock Huard. Oh, only like 2 games started for the Seahawks.
Huh?
But let me tell you, Brett, what he does now on Fox.
It's going to take some real convincing, but go ahead.
What he does now on Fox, doing USFL games, doing college football games, hosting a local radio show in Seattle. I mean, the love I have for Brock Huard is too much to not have him on this list.
Maybe Big 4 Seattle radio host, I would go with that. In one year, the year of the goal line play that was in Phoenix, our spot on Radio Row was near that Seattle station that he's with. And he was doing SEC then, and just a really nice person. And he was doing mornings then. And I'm going to say he was doing like 7 to 10 a.m.
That's what he's doing right
so
now.
We're okay. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's back and doing that same time.
Give me the call letters for the station.
Oh man, you'd have to give me a minute. I don't know them off the top of my head.
That's okay. Because their hours, I want to say he was 7 to 10 local Seattle time.
Uh-huh.
And this was in the Mountain Time Zone, and he was all out of whack.
Oh, yeah.
With time and getting over there. One day he rolled in kind of late.
Oh, well, here's the great thing. So back then he was, with his still co-host, and then he left for like a handful of years, and now he's back. He just came back like a year ago, and in his contract, it says that he does not have to work the first hour of the show. So he rolls in at, I think they're from 6 to 8 to 9, 9, 10, 10, 12. I think they're from, I don't know what they are, but they're on in the mornings and for 4 hours. He misses the first hour every single morning, and he rolls in at the top of the next hour.
Nice. If you can get it, get it.
I mean, hey, he's 0-4 as a starting quarterback, though, in the NFL. So
that Mountain West radio row, it had everybody out of whack, booking guests and figuring out what time it was and correspond, and I mean, I would book somebody. I'm trying to get the exact example. I'd book them, I'm thinking 4 o'clock in Memphis.
Oh, geez. It's a mess, I'm sure.
And so that would be 2 o'clock in Phoenix. Is that right?
Yeah,
and they'd show at 4 out there. Well, no.
No. Oh man, that's a mess.
The whole week. I mean, just everybody was really out of whack. But we got a great game out there. When Seattle really should have won their second Super Bowl.
Should have.
They gave that one away.
They really did. They really did. What's your top 4?
My big 4, I'm going to start with Eli Manning.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to the Hall of Fame. I don't think I need to do some convincing. There's some loud people out there that are opposed to it, but not next summer of 24, but summer of 25. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Number 2, I think he should be in there. And on some veteran list someday, Phil Simms should be there. I have him as my number 2. My number 3 is the only Super Bowl winning quarterback for Seattle, and it's not going well for him in Denver, but it went well for him in Seattle. And remember, when he emerged as their starter, they had just spent that truckload of money on Matt Flynn from his brief shining moment with the Packers 1 year out of LSU, paid him all that money, and it was so smart of Pete Carroll not to double down on the owner telling him we're going to play the guy we paid. No, they said, we're going to play the guy that we can win with, and they went with Russell Wilson. Number 4, I go with Dave Craig, and those gaudy numbers for him. I don't know that he ever gets in the Hall of Fame, but similar to Phil Simms, maybe on a veterans list someday. And he's also the only quarterback in the history of the NFL that his alma mater, Milton College, it no longer exists.
Wow. Wow. That is a great nugget.
Take that for academic history.
How about that? I love that.
As we were talking in the last segment with Tim.
That's great.
Milton doesn't even exist anymore.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, that's great. But I'd probably, if I had to be serious and replace Brock Huard on my list, I'd probably have to throw Russ on my.
So you dip in and listen to Seattle to get your Kraken update and
Mariners,
even you like your Mariners, yeah.
Oh yeah, I listen a lot. Before we start our show today, I was listening to their podcast form of their show this morning, and oh man, they had callers calling about the Mariners. People just ripping the Mariners for good reason too.
From my Ole Miss friends, I'm getting where's Charlie Connerly? He would be 5th, and he sure should be as well on that veterans list. And if we went just Giants, and we will later in the year, we kind of split it up because we're going to get repeat teams. And we'll go to just them when they repeat. We won't kind of have them merge. I sure will have number 42 on that list for Charlie Connerly. I got a great Ole Miss friend cracking on me now about it.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, for both these teams, there's some good quarterbacks to choose from. And when I was looking through and trying to figure out who I wanted for these lists, I mean, it was kind of hard to limit it down. And this was before I knew we were just doing one list. But, it's hard to limit some of these teams down to just 4 quarterbacks.
It is. Are you one that thinks Eli goes in first ballot? Or do you think he's got to wait? Or does he go in?
I think he goes in for sure.
Is there a wait?
I think there might be a little wait. I think he should be in first ballot, but I think there will be a wait.
Our Cowboys got back on rolling, didn't they?
Sure did. They're back. I hate myself that I'm not wearing my Cowboys jersey today because, they're back.
Me too.
They're back.
I almost wore my Cowboy jersey today.
A perfect time for them to bounce back because this week now they've got these 49er. What a joke of an organization the 49ers are. Good for them.
Wait a second.
Good for the 49ers. Good for the 49ers.
Knocked them out of the playoffs the last 2 years.
Just a joke. But good for the 49ers for trying to make it look like they're a good team this year so that the Cowboys can just kick them down this weekend. I love it.
And the 49ers are showing why last week I was saying I would take them over the Dolphins. Between the Dolphins' performance and the 49ers' performance this weekend, I feel very vindicated about that.
Yeah, the 49ers are pretty good. But I think Cowboys are better.
The old-timers, the experienced people are really weighing in. Our friend John Vargas. Can't argue with your list, but he's getting ready to argue with it. But was really hoping that Yelverton Abraham Tittle, Y.A. Tittle, would at least be referenced.
Oh, he was on my team-only list before we merged the two.
From Marshall, Texas.
He was
Fun to
on
drive
that
through
list.
Y.A. Tittle's hometown, making my way to and fro Texas A&M.
Glad John Vargas didn't have any problem with Brock Huard, it seems. It sounds like John Vargas is a big Brock Huard fan.
I think you made a great case for Brock Huard as top 4 Seattle talk show host. You did. Strong case.
That's not the list we were doing, I'm afraid, though, so that's too bad. But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show. Talk about Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wolo said hello.
Hey, sports fans, this is Ultimate Vegas Insider John Anthony, and I'm on fire. To prove it, I'm releasing your Monday Night Report absolutely free on recorded message line. Call 1-800-244-5506. I love tonight's matchup. Seattle, New York is a monster, side and total. Seattle, New York, critical information confirmed, plus Thursday's early release. That's 5 big plays. John Anthony has you covered. I love to go 5-0 free on recorded message. 1-800-244-5506. Information wins. John Anthony Sports #1 against the spread. Seattle, New York is huge. Call 1-800-244-5506. You want information? I've got it. I love to go 5-0 or the season free. 1-800-244-5506. Critical information confirmed? I've got it. I love to go 5-0 or the season free. That's 1-800-244-5506 or go to johnanthonysports.com.
Sponsored by JFSR Group.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps, fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
How you like me now? 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 How you like me now?
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, what I learned today is that we've got a big matchup this weekend in college football. Texas versus Oklahoma. And, I mean, this game's huge. I mean, Texas really looks like they might actually be, I dare to say it, Brett, they might be back. I mean, this team looks good.
They are.
This team is playing extremely competitive, taking care of business against Kansas, a good Kansas offense, beating Alabama earlier this year, going up against an Oklahoma team that I've really been impressed with, especially offensively, and really that defense too. I mean, the big knock on that team last year was the defense. They couldn't stop anything, and no matter who they played, their defense really struggled, but now that defense looks a lot more solid and this offense looks electric. I think they were about a 20-point favorite this weekend against Iowa State, covered with ease. I mean, this team is a covering machine so far this week, so I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I know it's early. I know it's Monday to talk about a game on Saturday, but this game is really building up to be one of the best games of this season so far.
In that great setting at the Texas State Fairgrounds at the Cotton Bowl Stadium. What I learned is the Celtics aren't ceding the East to the Bucks or to anyone else. They're not ceding it to Giannis and Damian Lillard. They got better with the acquisition of Drew Holiday. He's better than Marcus Smart, but the Grizzlies also got better. Two things can be true at the same time. The Grizzlies got better with Marcus Smart because the Grizzlies need experience and a veteran presence. They got it. The Celtics will be there at the end in the East in the NBA.
Yeah, what a wild trade over the weekend for Celtics to get Drew Holiday.
You didn't buy his Trailblazer jersey, did you?
No. I was thinking about it, but then I got the notification just in the nick of time. What I could have done without, really, a great story to hear, but we all remember what happened to Bronny James earlier this offseason and the having to rush him to the hospital while he was at practice, and that's what I could have done without. But I am seeing now LeBron James was asked today about Bronny, his health, how he's feeling today at media days, and he said that Bronny is aiming to get back on the floor this season for USC, which this already happened the year before where a player was having heart issues during practice and missed the first half of the season for USC and was able to come back during conference play. So I'm hoping the best for Bronny. I'm hoping that they have gotten this situation under control and that he can get back to the court as healthy as possible and as fast as possible.
Could have done without, the fine was coming. You knew it from the SEC for the field storming Saturday, but it was just hard to hold that enthusiasm back. Keith Carter just put out a text about an hour ago, love the passion of the Ole Miss family, especially our incredible student section this year. However, moving forward, we all need to do our part to keep game day safe. Have fun, be loud, but make good decisions. Go Rebs, hashtag beat the Hogs. Yeah, we know, but sometimes, gosh, I'm spending money that's not mine, but athletics department, they had to have that somewhere budgeted in there just in case this year went crazy. But they don't want anybody hurt, and that's how it happens. Mm-hmm. Starts out in fun, ends up someone hurt, but sure can see that there's got a text late Saturday night from a friend of mine. Said, was that you out there running around with your shirt off? And I sent back to go, no, that wasn't me out there just with my shirt off. I was fully nude out there running around. And the person fell out dying laughing.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's great. Another thing I saw today, speaking of NBA Media Days, Kawhi Leonard, he was asked about the new load management rules. He said, no league policy is helping me to play more games. So I said it earlier. I think the Clippers might be a team that tests this new rule from the NCAA or from the NBA. But
you did.
We'll see. It doesn't seem like Kawhi is putting too much into this.
Fines.
Oh, absolutely. But where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to MetLife, to New York City for Monday Night Football, Seattle, and the Giants. Dan Dimes versus once a Mr. Jet, now with Seattle, Geno Smith.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the only show in town tonight with baseball off tonight.
It starts
to start
tomorrow afternoon.
Playoffs, yeah, but I guess I'm beaming right there with you up to New York to see this game tonight. I'm intrigued to see what these two teams look like. I think these are two teams that a lot of people, some people thought both these teams were going to be really good this year. Some people thought these teams weren't going to be very good this year, but an up and down start to the season for both of these teams, and I want to see how they look in this matchup against each other. Monday Night Football, like I said earlier, the Seahawks have won 70% of their Monday Night Football games, so it should be a really good one tonight on ESPN.
I've just grown to love Dusty Baker. That wasn't always the case with me with Dusty Baker, but what he's accomplished for a week ago today, there was a chance not even in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now they win the West. They're sitting at home just watching the world burn the rest of this week.
Yeah, they're just having fun, and so I think that's a team that more people can like a little. I know some of these past Houston teams have been hard to root for because of all of that scandal, but new faces in there, so maybe some people will start rooting for them. But that's all the time we have today. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office,